Hello and welcome back to the New York Young Republican Club podcast. My name is Mario Nicoletto, your campaign's chairman, and we have a fantastic show for you with two new guests. Before we get into the news, we have a lot to unpack. We also have a lot of events with the New York Young Republican Club, and I'm going to read them off to you. On Thursday, the 20th of August, we have Spritz and Spirits. Buy your tickets now. They're flying really fast. On the 27th, just 1 week after Thursday, we're going to have the NYYRC Women's Caucus Paints and Sit Tote Bag Edition. Sorry, fellas, not allowed. It's only girls. In September, we're going to have the NYYRC Speaker Series. Robert Amsterdam and Father Michael Barone. That's on September 2nd, and on September 17th, I'm really happy, really hyped to announce we're going to be hosting Greg Gambit, Beyond the Mission, a conversation with Commander Greg Gambit, total victory. And finally, how could you forget? Honestly, we have the 114th, I think, if I'm wrong, comment down below, the 114th New York Young Republican Club Annual Gala. Buy your tickets today while it's still cheap. I promise you, you're not going to want to buy them. But moving on, I want to introduce our guest. We have one more. He is a former assembly candidate in New York City, in South Queens. How are you? Doing good. And we also have, I was debating over whether I messed her name up. We have Miss Ezaldein. I'll say that. All right, perfect. So we have Miss Ezaldein, we got Dewayne, and you are a contributor with news outlets or commentators. Wonderful. So I want to get straight into it, guys, because we have, I know we talked about Hasan Piker before, and he's a nutcase, but I want to get your takes on it. I have here defending Hasan Piker begs establishment Democrats to help him as the GOP piles on. And I don't know, did you guys see this yet? Is that something you read about? So, yeah. Can you speak to it?
Yes.
And I don't know, did you guys see this yet? Is that something you read about?
I never would have imagined that their party would be so lock and step with someone that says that for women that have it doesn't matter. He wants to rip capitalists out of their homes and kill them in the street.
Hello and welcome back to the New York Young Republican Club podcast. Mics are fixed, so we are in better shape. We have two amazing guests with us. I want to get straight to the news, but first, I want to run through our events coming by with the New York Young Republican Club. You're not going to want to miss any of them. On Thursday, the 20th, we have Spritz and Spirits. That's going to be a really fun time. Buy your tickets now. That's only a couple days away. We have the NYYRC Women's Caucus Paint and Sip Tote Bag Edition. Tote Bag Edition. That sounds like a lot of fun. Sorry, fellas, women only. That's on the 27th, a week after Thursday. In September, the NYYRC Speaker Series is coming back with Robert Amsterdam and Father Michael Barone. And the following week, we have Beyond the Mission, a conversation with Commander Greg Bavino, total patriot. We love Greg Bavino. He's doing God's work. And in December, on December 12th, mark your calendar right now, fellas. December 12th, the New York Young Republican Club's 114th annual gala at Cipriani Wall Street, an amazing venue. We've been doing this for years now. You're not going to want to miss out. We have some amazing, amazing people coming. And with that said, I want to introduce our guests. I'm going to start from right to left because I messed up last time. We have Nagah Ezaldein, a contributor and influencer in the right wing. How are you?
Great. Thank you for having me and getting my name correct.
Yeah, I'm not fantastic at it. We also have Dewayne Moore. Dewayne Moore is a former assembly candidate in the 29th district in 2024, and he is also a commentator. How are you, Dewayne?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. I love to see it. So I want to get straight to the news because I'm so happy I got your name right, by the way.
Same.
We have a lot to talk about. And I feel like chief amongst those is Hasan Piker begging the Democrats to magically come to his aid after he's running insurgent campaigns against them. The quote is, "Defend me." Hasan Piker begs establishment Democrats to help him as the GOP piles on. This is from Yahoo News. I want to toss the ball in your court, Dewayne, because you wanted to talk a lot about this. Can you speak to this?
Yeah, I think this is what happens when you talk a lot of garbage online and it
So
catches
real.
up with you. I mean, it's hard to defend. He said things that are not only anti-American, but things that reflect just being a horrible, despicable person. To be a guest in a nation where you're essentially an anchor baby, your parents are from Turkey, you were raised in Turkey, you were able to come here as a privilege and then say that we deserve 9/11, to say that people believe in our economic system, which is very much so tied to our faith, to say that they deserve to be stripped from their homes and the streets to be soaked in their blood. What kind of normal person speaks like that? And then to be so connected with to so many Democrats that are running, we really have to examine what's going on in the Democratic Party where they feel so comfortable with this type of person being a part of them. They say they're a big tent, but you're a big tent that's accepting of people that's saying, again, that women getting raped in Israel didn't matter for the October 7th thing, saying that, you know, people should be killed because they believe in capitalism, a system that he benefits from. And if he hates capitalism so much, why doesn't he get rid of his Porsche or his, nice multi-million-dollar house in LA? You know, it's kind of strange, and people like him is why we need to have a conversation about who we let in and who we don't.
Absolutely. It's almost like the what do they call it? Not compassionate capitalism, the opposite, like bougie communism, or I forget the term right now. It's like a bougie communism or like billionaire communism. It's ridiculous because he's got so much damn money and he's, making the plight to people that unfortunately are not well off to do. Most people that subscribe to the socialist lock-in Mario ideology.
The followers
typically
do, but the ones that run it are just running a massive Ponzi scheme.
Exactly. And Nagah, can you speak to that?
Yeah. So I actually went to college with Hasan Piker, and he was in my class at Rutgers.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I know he was like a big weirdo, but I mean, that's safe to say. And I do know that he was in like a frat, like TDX, but he was always very like, I would say with his comments, he was always barbaric, and then it kind of resonates with the Ottoman Empire. Him being Turkish, it makes a lot of sense.
Wow.
Yeah. So everything he
Let's
said
go.
was accurate. Yeah.
And I mean, for people that don't know what the Ottoman Empire did, that's one of the reasons why there was a crusade, because they were trying to take over Europe, and they were killing and raping, and
Exactly.
to the patriots that prayed to God, they were able to clean them out their land. But the Ottoman Empire, I mean, they were enslaving. That's the reason that we have a navy. It's because they were enslaving Americans. So I mean, that says it perfectly.
It's crazy. And I want to read a quote here. It's from Piker. I believe this is from Piker. Yes, it is. So, and it's a longer quote, but not because you love what I have to say, not because I'm a part of this coalition, questionable, even though I am, whether you like it or not, but you are going to inevitably have to say, this is a ridiculous conversation that we are having, because the real conversation that Republicans don't want to have is the cost of living crisis. That requires you at some point to basically take the L a little bit. Okay, and maybe be a little more honest about how I'm not this dangerous, toxic, radical force, Piker argued this week. Can you speak to that?
I just question why anyone takes him seriously. What does this person know anything about the economy? He's never run a business. I don't know of any professional job he's had outside of running his mouth. I don't. He's never. He has no family that was here for the American Revolution. None of his family members died in the Civil War. None of his family members here for World War I, World War II. The things that actually made this country a country, his family was absent about, but he gets to come here and critique us and think so lowly of us, like he was part of us. It's in a way, it's kind of this colonizer mindset of someone coming here and saying, I like this country. How can I take it over? Oh, I need the people to think really poorly of their country. So they listen to me. But when you actually peel it back, it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz, to where it's this idiot who doesn't know anything about America, doesn't know anything about American history. He's actually a failure because he's never run a business. He's attacked Elon Musk and said, Elon Musk is a failure. I don't know anything productive he's done in his life. Yeah. But yet he has all these opinions about America. And again, I think we really need to have conversations of, why are we letting people with colonizer mindsets who think very poorly about America and have all these solutions that don't work in their country? If all these things that he says work, why isn't Turkey the United States? Why did you need to come here?
Yeah, he should probably go back to Turkey. I'm sure he would be living in a mansion there. But also, he was a communications major. So I feel like his platforms that he runs on is because he was bred to literally talk nonsense into a microphone. And that's how he gets all these followers and these views. But at the end of the day, who actually has the time to sit there and watch him for all of his Twitch episodes? We have jobs, we're not just sitting there and watching him be himself.
Yeah. And that's the era of the influencers who really know nothing but influence things with just their mouth.
Yes.
They're not actually creating anything like, Harold Ford, people that actually built cards, the Harold, or I'm forgetting it. The guy
I forget too.
Yeah. Well, that's a blue.
Before I want to read another quote from Piker, and it's my eyes hurt looking at it, but I want to address the camera directly. If you have any comments about Hasan Piker, and I know plenty of you do, please comment down below. It costs you literally $0.00. I want to hear from you guys as we begin to read our comments.
That guy.
You'd love to debate
because he just doesn't make sense. A lot of the things that he says don't work. And
it's
he's such
nonsensical.
A graphic disgust. I hope he comes into agreement with something different.
Yeah, well, I hope he finds Christ, honestly. And it's you take a look at everything he said, and I actually want to read this quote because I was going to move it into, he said, F it, America deserved 9/11. I said it. And it's like, he says here, adding to his plea to the Democrat establishment, I can't take it seriously. I'm not expecting you to defend clips out of context or anything like that. I'm not even expecting you to defend some of these statements at all. I think you should probably attack the form. You should attack the form. You should attack the function. You should probably attack the very reasons as to why the Republicans have made this and are trying to make this a salient line of attack. Instead of just following the Republicans to consistently make this the #1 effing issue, because every moment that the Republicans are talking about this and you're leaning into it is another effing moment where you are not talking about the issues, and it will actually become a salient narrative, and it will be awful. What is he saying? Out of context? I'm pretty sure the 9/11 line was very much in context.
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like a large problem here is that the left as an institution, as a group, we had the Republicans, the right. We had a leader. We had I didn't agree with him on everything, but that's not a qualifier. It's whatever. But we had Charlie Kirk. He was our guy. He was our top guy. And he got gunned down by people that unfortunately support Hasan Piker. Where is our leader? Can we bring back, where is our leader? Because the younger generation, they're flocking towards people like Hasan Piker and Vosh and all these disgusting, dysgenic human beings. And I'm not seeing real leadership coming out of the conservative wing of whether it's the media or social media or YouTube or podcasting, I'm not really seeing a key figure pop out. Do we know who that could be, or if that will materialize anytime soon?
Maybe Ben Shapiro. I don't know, but I feel like there's no one as good as Charlie Kirk. Honestly, he was like one and done. It's very hard to compete with a man like him. He didn't even go to college. He was self-educated and so smart, great at debating, and never used like profanity like Hasan Piker just to get his point across. That's how you know he's a truly intelligent person.
Yeah. And I think that the next generation of conservative leaders need to step up. I think that we've gotten too comfortable with the influencer lifestyle, or just way that everything is just about clicks and likes. But what we're seeing with Hasan Piker, he's infiltrating the Democratic Party, and he's actually starting to endorse candidates, run with candidates. That's not just someone speaking online. In the same way that Charlie Kirk was able to influence with
Turning Point Action.
Yeah, with Turning Point Action. So there clearly needs to be a more serious push to address this generational divide, because a lot of the young people are hurting. They were told to go to college, and that will be your way into.
And now that you can't even get a job out of college.
Yeah, underemployment is an issue. There's a lot of things, but the conservative ideology of if you work hard, you can achieve great things is still alive, but it's really in certain industries. It's just not everywhere. So we really need to start combating that, because people are going to think that, you know, a loser like Hasan is the way to go, and he's really just trying to destroy the country.
Absolutely. And to piggyback off what you said for Hasan campaigning with candidate, it also says here that Piker, who joined the campaign trail for Michigan Senate candidate Abdul El Said, and Wisconsin gubernatorial candidate Francesca Hong, I think it's pronounced, has been lighting a rod of controversy in recent years. You know, I want to see us going in to Georgia. You know, Mike Collins is running for the U.S. Senate in Georgia. He's a total patriot. Mike Collins will be one of the best senators, if not the best senator in the U.S. Senate, should he win his race against, I think it's John Ossoff this year. You know, I want to see a little more of that energy from the Republicans, especially from the youth, because we have more young Republicans now than ever. You know, ever since Trump came down the golden escalator, I was 15 when that happened. I was 14 when that happened, actually. And it was the party of like the older folks and the party of the younger folks at that time. And I'm kind of seeing that kind of twist around a bit. Yeah. A lot of younger people, not to minimize that the young people in the DSA, and unfortunately have been brainwashed to think that way, but the generation we're in right now, that I'm in right now, I should say, is the most conservative generation since the baby boomers, and we should start acting like it and getting involved. And it says exactly what you said here. He has long raised eyebrows and received condemnation from both sides of the aisle for his bombastic rhetoric, for saying the United States deserved 9/11, to minimizing the October 7th terrorist attacks in Israel, to praising China's government as superior to the U.S. government, which is lunacy.
He loves Mao. Mao got 20 million plus people killed, and you know, that's what he loves as an idol.
Didn't he wear like some form of like Mao Zedong merch?
Yes, he does.
I hate to call it merch, but like he wore the Mao Zedong outfit when addressing the college
I'm
Democrats.
sure his stylist picked that out for him.
The stylist, he probably pays like $100,000 a year. It's ridiculous. So what are we to do with such a radical fringe figure like Hasan Piker leading the party? How can we, my view is to open up a common sense coalition, welcome in some moderate Democrats, welcome in the independents, welcome in especially those in New York City that have been victim to Mamdani's economy and Mamdani's New York City. I mean, people are getting stabbed every day on the subway. People are getting lit on fire on the Q train, and it's not conducive to a high trust society. How can we fight back against leaders like Piker?
Well, I think it's not allowing people like Piker to rebrand what America is, because that's what he's doing. And that is a form of colonizing. He doesn't know anything about our history, and his family isn't from here. He doesn't know. You know, my family has been here to see literally New York City, the skyline rise. You know, that is generations of people here. They got to see the infrastructure get built. They got to see the expansion of railroads that were here through the wars. The Americans should be able to define what America is. But if Americans are too comfortable or too quiet to express their patriotism and express their love of country, people like Hasan get to redefine us. And again, if he wants to talk about societies, let's go to Turkey and see what the lifestyle of and the quality of life is like in Turkey. Let's Al Said. Let's go to Egypt and see what the quality of life is there. I mean, it's vastly inferior to the United States, and we should be unapologetic about saying that. But, and again, when I say people who are American, that also includes people who immigrated here that remember what they escaped and don't want to turn the country that they escaped to into the country they escaped from. And this is what Hasan Piker is talking about. I mean, these ideas of our government should be taking care of everybody. Why doesn't it work in your country then that's much poorer than the United States? Why are we allowing an ideology that has failed to not grow organically from the citizens that group that built this country, but people who come internationally to benefit from us? They're trying to change us into some place that we're not. And we should be proud and boldly and boldly denouncing this and rejecting it completely.
Absolutely. It's not only, it didn't only fail, it killed hundreds of millions of people.
Yeah. And Christians, we always have to remember the religious part. These are a lot of these societies where majority Christians, Egypt, Palestine, Turkey, the whole region, majority Christians that were killed and persecuted. We can never forget that.
Absolutely. And it's, you know, I live in South Brooklyn, like I was telling you guys. And in my neck of the woods in Bay Ridge, you do still have your fair share of Russians, Ukrainians, Belarusians, Russians, I think you pronounce it. And a lot of them are older, and I'll being involved with the GOP, I'll hear stories from them about the insanity of what went on rather in the past in the USSR, in Poland, in Romania, and wherever. And the lengths they went to avoid being subject to communist rule. I know one person, you know, I won't name them, but they were a paratrooper and for the army, and and she's a tough cookie. But that was I believe that was under the USSR. And it's so ridiculous how we have people that want to essentially bring back a civil Cold War, is what I like to call it, a civil Cold War, where we have, you know, the far right and the far left kind of competing for influence in different states. Whether they're governor elections or Senate elections. You know, we just saw Han go down against Crowley. And it's very interesting to see. I wanted to get back to you in terms of how we can combat Hasan Piker's leadership in the Democrat Party. Your thoughts?
Okay, so this goes back to my thoughts on like social media being detrimental to young people and their minds, which is why I don't have social media. I never did, but it's because the influence that social media has with people like that, it's like people are glued to their phones and that's all they want to see. And then they're influenced without even being educated on their own. So they see, oh, my friend is watching this person and he has like 1 million followers or whatever. Let me start watching his videos and like reading more about him. But they're just like doing whatever. They're not thinking for themselves. They're just like going based off of a TikTok video or a YouTube video and saying, oh, I should believe what he says because we have something relatable.
Yeah, exactly. And people try their best to be relatable. Like Hasan's actually a really good example. He tries so hard to be relatable. He tries so hard to be relatable. And I can't relate. I'm sure the average 25-year-olds in Brooklyn, whether they're a liberal or a conservative, can't relate to having mommy and daddy's money worth tens of millions of dollars and having a mansion in Los Angeles that you can flee to whenever you're in trouble, or that you can flee to whenever you want to take a vacation. It makes no sense to me how the relatability aspect is even a thing, but you're right. When you look at like social media as it stands right now, it's just a bunch of either AI slop or it's straight up communism being pushed on the children. Yeah. And I don't mean kids my age. I mean kids that are 15, not 25.
Yeah. Right? And also on like another thing with TikTok specifically, people don't know this, but China is pushing on all of these influences through TikTok where it's encouraging Americans to become influencers. So when they're scrolling through TikTok, they're like, oh, I could do this too. I don't need a real job. I'm just going to become an influencer. But in China, the whole reason it's banned is because they're only promoting education and starting businesses on like social media platforms. America is the only one targeted where it's like, oh, we're going to encourage them to become influencers.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think in Western civilization is just being targeted to collapse it. And the education system, I was a teacher. When you look at a lot of these inner cities, it's completely been taken over by communists. We're not teaching kids anymore of trades or real skills or true history. We're teaching them America bad. Colonization was only through Europeans. We don't learn about like the Ottoman Empire or Islamic, conquest. We only hear about the West.
They had the Iberian Peninsula for like a long time. And it took the Reconquest to take it back.
Yeah, I mean, Spain was run by the Ottomans for a while, and it took them centuries to get it back. We don't hear about that. We don't hear about the slavery of white people and how generally just
Irish,
almost about every white person on this earth has been through some type of horrible slavery in their lineage. We don't hear about that. It's only through one lens. And social media is perfect because it warps your reality into whoever you listen to. Whoever has the likes, whoever has the followers is generally who's going to have the platform to speak. And at one point, what made you a valid person to listen to was your accomplishments. Did you build a business? Did you invent something? Are you a high quality person? I could hide behind a screen and run my mouth all day like Hasan. A rich, spoiled person, just like him, just like Zoran Mondani. Again, rich, spoiled kids who have no idea of reality, got lost in college classes, think they run the world. And it has very disastrous consequences. This is how, if you look at the communist takeover of so many countries, it always starts from these elitist college students that are usually very privileged that don't have any skills and need to keep the grift up. So they plan their way to steal yours.
I was reading a certain book. It's called The Communist Manifesto. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, but there's a particular version of it that I was reading. I forget the exact name. I'll bring it up probably later on if I remember it. But the intro, I think it was the foreword. So the first thing you read in the book, it said, "To all workers of the world, especially students." They made a very, very apt point to say, especially students. And their reasoning behind it, and this is in many versions of the Communist Manifesto, because you're beginning out your lives, and it's better that you implant this information in you earlier than later. And you were a teacher. It's literal brainwashing. It's literal brainwashing.
At the college level, oh my gosh. I mean, I was once an indoctrinated college student. I mean, you really get brainwashed with this idea of who's evil, who's good, what's possible, who's against you.
But now it's starting with younger generations. Like people are on TikTok at 10.
Elementary school.
Unfortunately.
As soon as you have a phone, TikTok is on there.
It's almost like we have a indoctrination machine in our right pocket at all times. So crazy.
That's why parents got to monitor. Get back to conservative values. Don't let the social media or these phones or technology raise your kid.
But how can you do that when babies are now getting iPads at like 2 years old?
See, I believe don't do that.
If you want a crying baby, or do you want them to just shut up and have an iPad?
They actually cry more with the iPad than they do when you take it away.
Because
it trains their brain. It's like a cocaine hit with them, with how it stimulates them. And when it's removed, the longer it's gone, the more it calms the brain down. So
I didn't think
old
about
school
that,
parenting
honestly.
did that. I mean, you talk to any person raised before the 80s, technology. I mean,
everything. I talked to my mom about it. Everything was just better. Everything was better.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, with the rise of I call it the second industrial revolution, with AI and with technology and with smartphones, we are subject to propaganda in our pocket at all times, right or left wing, or from different countries. But, you know, I really hate to admit it, but Hasan is right about one thing. He's right about one thing. There is a cost of living crisis.
Yep.
There absolutely is a cost of living crisis. There is an affordability crisis in the United States and in New York and in New York City. I don't think that's really irrefutable at all. I think that's pretty common sense to say, actually. But we have a Sunday Scaries bit about that. The $20 burrito, something to that effect, coming to you right now.
The U.S. stock market crashed. causing the price of burritos to skyrocket to 20 cents each. The Great Depression had officially begun, and for the next decade, American families would be forced to make do, preparing burritos at home rather than buying them from Chipotle or Qdoba. Though President Roosevelt did his best to subsidize the cost of rice and cheese, it wasn't enough. Lines stretched for blocks as hungry Americans waited hours for a plain burrito, often without salsa, sour cream, or even guacamole. For many, these were the darkest days in American history.
Wow. $20 for 20 cents for a burrito, rather 20 cents. And those Chipotle lines, it really breaks my heart, honestly, because it's like 20 cents for a burrito in the 1920s when Roosevelt is president, the 1930s. It breaks my heart. We have a couple comments I want to read. Number one, there's actually an edit somebody made. We have the smartest audience, guys, the absolute smartest audience. Somebody said, Shuffled Media said, Spain was not controlled by the Ottomans. It was not controlled by the Umayyad dynasty.
I misspoke. Thank you for that correction.
No, you're good. I thought it was the Ottomans too, to be totally honest. So it's whatever. And then also the same commenter.
I think it was same ideology.
Same ideology for sure. Shuffled Media. I am Mario's strongest soldier. I don't know who you are, but you are my strongest soldier. And I love you for that.
Cute.
My absolute king or queen. I don't know who you are. And I want to get to
Or
the
both.
next. Yeah, or both. You could be anything nowadays.
Right,
I don't know. My
2026, you're
favorite
right.
Zimzer. So, writing off the 20-cent burrito, there is a article from Forbes came out a little bit ago. And it says conservative media is fighting over a $20 burrito and affordability. And like I said before, affordability, just as a general topic, is really, it's just falling. Rather, it's deflating the affordability in America. And I want to get your takes on this. I want to read a couple quotes real quick. The catalyst for this was a tweet from Turning Point USA spokesperson Andrew, I think it's Colbert, who passed along a student's comments about inflation. One of our TPUSA college students gave me his take on affordability. A burrito should not cost $20. Yeah, a lot of this is a hangover from COVID and Biden-era inflation, but the lived experience is the same. It just feels like basic things cost too much. And then I'm going to follow that up with another reply to that. This was on X, I believe. The Daily Wire co-founder Ben Shapiro echoed that sentiment, declaring, if you are paying $20 for a burrito and you're not independently wealthy, you're doing life wrong. I don't know what's going on, Dewayne. Can I get your thoughts on this? What's going on?
I think Ben Shapiro is making a big mistake by being dismissive, because everyday people should be able to walk into a store and buy a burrito and not have the sticker shock of it being $20. Now, I think there's a lot of reasons why that is. We could look at the Biden inflation. We could also look at the value of the US dollar and how much you're able to buy with it, and whether our currency is as strong as it used to be. We're seeing that as generally an issue across the West, but we have to tackle that as conservatives, because regardless of whether you're fiscally responsible or not, I remember a time where $5 at McDonald's meant you were the man. Like,
Yeah,
$5.
the $5 meal deal.
Yeah, like,
Who could
I mean,
forget it,
if
folks?
your parents gave you $5 before school, you were eating good at lunch. If you were
That's
able to
so
go to
real. I
McDonald's.
was even me I was eating good in the late aughts in the early 2010s. I was in middle school, high school. That was awesome.
And this is a short period of time. This is not where your grandparents would say, back in my day. This is 10 years ago, 10 plus years ago, where people just remember the value of what you're getting being so much more. And we have to have a serious conversation about the rents in New York City. Why is it that it's $6,000 or more to have a one bedroom in Manhattan? A lot of times it's because there's a lot of crazy regulations that the left is putting in that's driving prices up. Also, like in California, where they have this crazy high minimum wage for fast food workers. So now what do? They turned it to robots, so they cut jobs. And then also just the fact is people are underemployed. There's less people with true skills in America now than before. You know, at one point in New York City, you would have the locksmith, you'd have very high fancy carpenter, you'd have
the
metal
carpenters,
worker.
plumbers, HVAC.
Yes, you'd have all your tradesmen and lawyers, everyone
Mhm.
around to where people had skills. Now you speak to the average young man, he doesn't know his right from his left foot. You know,
He
that
can't even change a tire anymore.
yeah. And then when people are complaining, I
Yeah,
can't
I'm
afford
guilty of
stuff,
that.
it's because we have a huge underemployment. Because you say there's a lot of people that can afford a $20 burrito,
Mhm.
but there's too many people that can't. And unfortunately, when you look in the mirror, it's skills.
What I don't like the most about this article, I think that the right wing can agree there's an affordability crisis. And if we can't, then we're not going to operate effectively as the right wing. But I don't like that we are going at each other in X replies or whatever, or whether it was Facebook or Instagram, it doesn't make a difference. I don't like that we're fighting over this because it makes no sense. Like we have Andrew Colvett, Ben Shapiro, a couple other characters. I think Vance even weighed in on it. I think he put something out like, I don't like, Michael Knowles put out, I don't like burritos. And that was the his entire statement on it. I believe JD Vance did touch on the topic or did broach the topic briefly, but I don't want to have a whole like drama crisis over the if affordability is even an issue. And that's where I think Shapiro is making a misstep here. You know, independently wealthy is the key two words there, independently wealthy. And it's like nobody can be independently wealthy as a 25, 24, 23-year-old anymore. It's almost impossible, especially in the big cities. And, you know, it's funny. We mentioned LA and New York City before. LA and New York City and Washington, D.C. all have straight up socialist mayors. Straight up. Spencer Pratt's not going to be on the ballot in November. He did win, but they took it from him. And we don't have another mayor election until 2029. And then unfortunately, in D.C., it's just extremely skewed Democrat. You could put up Stalin and he'd win. It's ridiculous. So I want to get your take on that, Naj, because I didn't get to you before.
Oh, yeah. So there's definitely an affordability crisis. And I will say with the comment that Ben made, it is definitely geared towards wealthier people. But I think what he was trying to get at is being independently wealthy. Yes, meaning you have generational wealth or you are an entrepreneur, you have your own business, whatever. But there's a lot of people that don't have that skill set because you're not being taught that anymore. People don't know how to manage their finances. So yes, they're going to go out and buy a $20 burrito when they can just buy the ingredients at Trader Joe's and make that at home. Not a lot of
Trader
people
Joe's might
do
be more
that.
expensive than actually getting the burrito. Trader Joe's is skyrocketing. The one by me, I do not want to see my bank account after that. I'm spending like $50 at Trader Joe's just getting recipes, but that's not here nor there. I want to read another quote from here because this is really hitting home for where the three of us probably all agree. And if we don't, we'll talk about it. To the more populist contingent, dismissing the idea of $20 burritos as a product of delivery app laziness is missing the point. And that's a visceral reaction to a far more widespread cost of living crisis, as Piker said. Consumer prices, for example, were up 3.5% year over year through June, according to recent data from the Bureau of Labor Stats, with food prices up 3%, energy prices up 15.7%, and gasoline prices jumping up 26.7%. Inflation-adjusted hourly earnings, meanwhile, are essentially flat. And according to an analysis from Democratic staff on Congress Joint Economic Committee, it's a mouthful, families have spent more than $3,500 extra on everyday essentials since early 2025. We know there's a crisis. That says it all right there. What can we do about it as Republicans, as lawmakers, if we're in the Assembly, if we're in the Senate, if we're in the Congress? What can we really do to stop this?
I honestly think that we're cooked. And I feel like people now.
I love the honesty.
Yeah, you have to have like 3 to 5 jobs just to be able to afford, just like, for example, a city like New York. You're right. An average 1-bedroom is $6,000. And I think it's because of the left. Obviously, they're controlling the boards of all of these housing authorities. And then they're raising prices. Landlords don't want to sell. And then with the rent control being froze, what are they going to do? They're going to increase the rent on the ones that they can increase the rent on.
Yeah.
So it's just like never going to end.
Yeah. Well, one, energy is important.
Yeah.
And when we see in a lot of blue states, they've handicapped the energy industry. So, of course, rates are going to rise. I mean, and a lot of things run off energy. They made a lot of things go electric, but they cut back our electric production by getting rid of the nuclear facility that produced, I think, was about 20 to 30% of electricity. So you need higher demand, but you're not producing more. It's going to increase the price. Also, when it comes to our education system, because again, I think a lot of this is also underemployment. You have people who don't have skills, who are now exposed to lifestyles of other people through social media, that think that they should be deserving of everything that other people have. Especially that's what socialists kind of run on, this idea of, if you don't have, it's not because you don't have skills or you don't have a good job, it's because somebody's taking it from you. It really, I think, puts unrealistic expectations on what an economy or what a country is supposed to do. And then also I would add, of what we can do is deregulate. Argentina, I think, did a great case study of when you stop trying to control the housing market, prices fall. To your point, if I'm making 50% of houses affordable housing, meaning subsidized in some way, well, math is math. I have to get the money from somewhere else. And I think in New York City, about 50% of the housing is in some way subsidized or free. So that means that the other 50% of people are going to be paying for that. You know, so New York City could probably cut rents by 20, 30% tomorrow if they got rid of all their crazy regulations, which would then make a $20 burrito seem a lot more livable. But I mean, $6,000 for rent, you know, that is not the New York City my parents knew. That's not the New York City that my grandmother moved into. But it seems the more socialist we get, the more global we get as a population, the more expensive, because we're importing ideologies and policies that are failures.
And let's say that you're paying $6,000 for rent. Let's say you live, I don't know, the Upper East Side or the Upper West Side, wherever in Manhattan, right? You pay $6,000 for rent, hypothetically speaking. The other $4,000, save 2 of it. That's what I would do. Or save 3 of it. And then you're paying for groceries. You're paying for, I don't know, if you drink, you're going out to bars, or you're taking an Uber, you take the subway every day, most likely. That adds up. That compounds really quickly. You're still on a shoestring budget. And let's say, like I said before, let's say you get $10,000 a month. That's $120,000 a year. That's 6 figures. Even a 6-figure salary can't sustain a lifestyle that's just a regular lifestyle in New York City anymore. It's not possible to live. It's almost like we just can't like take a deep breath and realize that in New York City, most of it, some of us got lucky. I got lucky, but most of us just cannot afford to live essentially anymore. Most of us can't afford to buy anything that's not a absolute necessity. You know, we can't buy a suit, can't buy, you know, that extra Uber ride. And it's really upsetting. And then this article does detail like the civil war on the right, which I would like to talk about maybe a little later, like Shapiro and Owens batting blows, and Carlson leaving the Trump administration, or splitting from the Trump administration rather, over the Iran war. But, you know, when it comes to the affordability crisis, it's a real thing. We might be cooked, we might not be cooked. I tend to believe that the federal government, well, first off, New York City has one really, really bad landlord, and that's New York City. Yeah. The worst landlord in New York City is Zohran Mamdani. He will crush you with rent, and he will also crush everybody else with the taxes for subsidized housing. It's ridiculous. And then moreover, in Washington, D.C. and in Albany, they're imposing taxes on everything. If your shoe's not tied correctly, you're getting taxed. And what we need to do is, you know, there's actually a couple good ideas I've heard of divestments of funds. Right now, New York State, fact check me on this, crew. New York State spends about, I think it was a couple billion, or maybe it was a few million, but it doesn't matter, on illegal aliens, housing them, abetting them, whatever.
Oh, it was billions.
It's probably billions
over
of dollars.
12 billion. That was what the budget deficit was that he had to cover. That 12 billion was, a lot of it was.
If we divest $12 billion, $12 billion is a lot of money, right? If we divest all that from New York State, and that they're hosting, I'm reading the article, that they're spending on housing and feeding and whatever illegal aliens, giving them free healthcare, we would be able to essentially create a down payment assistance program for young married couples that want to buy a home and, when all is said and done, retire with dignity. People shouldn't be working till they're 75, 80 years old, unless they want to, but most of them don't.
You mean
No.
policies that actually help Americans first? That's such a crazy idea.
Yeah, it's a policy that helps the American populace. I don't know if Chuck Schumer and Kristen Gillibrand and Kathy Hochul, I don't know if they've ever enacted that. I don't know if they know what that is.
No, I mean, because their policies are usually anti-American and they think that the American people come last. And it's not saying that you can't help other people, but I mean, we spent astronomical amounts of money and resources on people who illegally came here when we had homeless veterans who, since my childhood, we left to rot away in the street. I mean, how do you say that you're for Americans when nothing you do? I mean, they're spending $14 million, the state said, on fighting the legal funds of people who came here legally. This is just stealing American tax dollars. And this is not even going to all the fraud like Nick Shirley has discussed.
Yeah, he's great.
I mean, New York City has a budget that is more than the entire state of Florida. More than the entire state of Florida.
Gotcha.
The population is about triple Florida's population. How is it that New York City spends more money on average than the state of Florida that's triple the population? And we have, it's this expensive, is this unaffordable, is this low quality of life? You know, it doesn't work.
Right. We got a lot of comments coming in.
Want to
read
corrected again?
Maybe.
Fact
Let's
checked.
see. Oh, Frank Villicomo is watching. We love you, Frank. Oh, you did get fact checked.
Again? Ooh.
New York State has committed a cumulative $4.3 billion to address the migrant crisis statewide, and $3.25 billion of that allocated directly to reimburse New York City for housing and humanitarian services. That's from the lovely Rachel. Thank you, Rachel.
That number's off.
And then I want to go over here. We're getting a bunch of comments.
But I think that number's off because they've been spending. This has been going on for the past 3 years or so. So I know it's been more than 4.3 billion.
That could be 4.3 annual.
Yeah.
What are the rest?
Anything
of the
more than
comments?
50 cents is too much to spend on illegal aliens. What were you saying?
I want to hear the rest of the comments.
Oh yeah, I'm getting to it. All right, give me a second. All right.
More fact checks.
M Kari XB or M Carl XB. I know she's been commenting, or he's been commenting for a while. Hello, everybody. The host is glowing today, dude. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I try my best. You know, I'll like do my skincare routine, and I'll like get into a snazzy Saul Goodman suit, and I'm like, do I look good today? Am I good looking today? Are they gonna hate me on camera? Turns out you don't. So shout out to you. Shout out to you. This whole show is dedicated to you now. Not even, you know what? This is going to be a show about you from now on. Frank F. Music, 9360. Wonder who that could be. Maybe we'll see him later in the show. How could socialists messaging on affordability be combated without the right wing stooping to the same kind of government-centric solutions? Great question. Can we actually touch on that, Dewayne?
Yeah, I think it's inspiring people to remember what is possible when we aim for the American dream, what you can do for yourself. Socialists believe and communists believe that the government is God.
Yeah.
The government controls all outcomes. If, you know, someone that's really high performing like Elon Musk is wealthy, it's because they stole it. And if somebody is homeless on the street, they're only that way because they were defrauded. It's literally taking the place of God and making the government God.
Yeah.
So we have to show people that when you work hard, you actually can win. When you're inspired, when you actually come from good family, and you have good morals, that this country can still serve you. And we see so many examples of that. So we should be highlighting what America was and why so many people came here, and what America continues to be for not only the Americans here that are from here that work hard, but there's so many people that leave their countries and come here for a better opportunity.
And Naj.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I feel like we need to go back to our roots of the American dream. And if you don't want to be here, don't be here. Just leave.
I love it. I love it. And that goes out to you, Piker.
Great.
You know, I'm seeing Frank commented again, actually. Van said that the WAPA Washington Post columnist looked like he never turned down a burrito. I love that. We love JD Vance, folks. One of the probably the funniest vice president we've had in a long time. But to your point, you know, I don't worship, to quote Tucker Carlson, I don't worship capitalism. I worship God.
Yeah.
I worship God. And it's like, I don't think capitalism is like, I don't think it has no faults. It certainly has faults. I mean, as we've seen with development of AI, development of the apps we mentioned before, that is a fault. That is a downside of late stage capitalism. That's just what's going to happen, unfortunately. But I feel like, you know, especially, let's say like you're a member of a church group, right? And you're down in your luck they have resources. Or even if you're not Christian, I am Christian, but I'm sure they have resources at other faith groups that they can give to you and to help you while you're still suffering. Now we have another comment here from, actually I missed one from the same person that said, I'm glowing. I love you. The glory deal of the Wendy's 4 for $4. So true. So true. Pammy 1228. Is it Pamikos? Probably not. Financial literacy in schools, she just said.
Absolutely.
If you have 120K salary and you're not bringing it home, 30-40% goes to taxes and insurance. That's ridiculous. Yeah. And it's like, then that $6,000, it's for that, the 10 grand you're getting a year, hypothetically, again, $6,000 goes to rent. And then what is this, like 30 or 40%? You have like a grand left to play with. If I'm doing math right. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
It's sad,
yeah.
But it's true. It's real life.
Yeah, there's a New York City.
And you don't even have a car here. Most people don't drive. Imagine if you needed a car, gas money, etc.
Parking.
Oh my God.
Let's
That's
see.
Another rent.
Oh, Pammy's being spammy. She's spamming the chat. Hold up. I love you, Pammy. I love you, Pammy. 11 billion in illegal immigration housing. That's my idea, Mario. Give me credit. You get the credit. You get the credit. No one else gets the credit except for you. It's only you. Okay. I promise you. And it is Pam Mikos. Oh, what's up, Pam? How's it hanging? Oh my God. Well, I was gonna say that kind of reminded me of our plans for the state senate. So if you're watching, vote Pam Mikos for state senate. She is the greatest of all time. One of my favorite senate candidates. Her and Tom Stanton are gonna win by landslides, and they are both endorsed by the New York Young Republican Club. Now, there's a lot of talk about affordability, but I want to shift a little bit to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She has been very personal with us recently, very personal about what she's doing in her life, about freezing her eggs, and she went through a breakup and all this stuff. She's been very vocal about her personal life. We have a Sunday Scaries coming up about that from James, coming up to you right now.
Weird about this, even though I know all of you will be.
U.S. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has shared that she will be documenting her defecations on social media.
This is a choice that I am making to feel more in control of my life.
Cortez was asked if she plans to continue her live stream journey into the election cycle.
I haven't ruled out the possibility. It's important for us to normalize these conversations.
Don't be weird.
I mean, I'm at a loss for words. I got to be honest. I'm at a loss for words. I'm so happy that AOC is just opening up to us about everything she's been doing. I want that to maintain the case, to be the case, because we need more transparency from our representatives, and I'm very happy she's doing that. Speaking of AOC, she has been very personal with us, but I also feel like she's trying to distance herself from the kind of crazy lunatics of the party, being Hasan Piker. She was saying, thank God woke is over. It was something to that extent. I'm paraphrasing, but do we think AOC's angle? Well, what are we doing here? What's happening? Start with you.
I think that the DSA candidates have to rebrand to seem normal. And I know that they spent a lot of money with a lot of consultants to try to put lipstick on a pig, so that we actually believe that they're normal people, or they actually know what they're talking about, or they're actually qualified. And they're not. This is why they have to play. And, I'm tired of woke one, or whatever she said, which, I mean, whatever woke 2 is, it's much worse than woke 1. I wish we would just go back to the 2016 Bernie days, because Lisa was just about healthcare and taxing the rich, not saying we deserve 9/11 or you know, we should be killing capitalists and candidates actually running around with him. I think that AOC is, again, trying to do things to seem relatable, but I don't know how you freezing your eggs means that you know anything about the economy, how you're going to cut prices, and everything that she's generally touched usually goes to crap. So I don't know what this has to do with policy. It doesn't, but you know, maybe people online will cheer her on in her delusion.
Man, that poor guy really escaped a freaking nightmare. Naj, your thoughts on AOC trying to become more relatable, kind of distancing herself from the leftists?
Yeah, I don't think she is trying to become more relatable to normal people, as you said. I think she's trying to go down this route of like the crazy middle-aged single white liberal crazy cat lady route, where she's like, oh, it's cool to freeze your eggs. Guess what? Freezing your eggs is like 10 to 12 grand annually. So what normal person can actually freeze their eggs? Not relatable.
It's 10 to 12
annually
grand.
to store your eggs. It's 10 to 12 grand.
You pay.
That's in Florida. I don't know New York.
People.
New York is probably way more expensive.
You pay them to store it.
Yeah,
I don't have eggs. I don't know how.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to freeze your eggs and just like use them the next day. You're freezing them until you're ready. So
interesting.
And it's funny how she posted that video right before the whole breakup of her fiance.
Yeah,
it was like
I thought that was after.
I love how socialists always pretend that they know what it's like to be working class while doing things that are so not working class. It's just like Hasan Piker going to Cuba wearing glasses that were like thousands of dollars. And saying that socialism works. Well, I mean, no one else year round in Cuba is wearing Cartier glasses.
If they can afford a t-shirt.
Yeah, I mean, if they can afford a bottle of water. I mean, but this is, you know, the type of people, again, Abdul Saeed pretending to be working class, again, family from Egypt. I don't know what he knows about the history here, but he owns properties abroad.
Yeah.
I mean, the same rich people that they complain about, they are. They just want to be richer with the use of the government, but they're not actually capable enough of doing it on their own because they have no skills and they're inept.
Well, they're communists in capitalist clothing, or in Hasan Piker's sense, is a capitalist in Mao Zedong's clothing. But you know what I would say is, and by the way, guys, I want you all to chime in. Again, I know I keep yelling at you to make comments and to give comments. Just keep doing it. I think Spammy Pammy was pretty funny, so keep giving us your thoughts, especially on AOC, because I have a pretty hot question and a hot take. I don't know if I fully agree with her trying to be palatable, not towards us. I think she's trying to be palatable towards us. I could see a future where AOC runs, not in her, I believe it's the 16th congressional district she represents. I could see 14th. It's the 14th. I could see her running for the U.S. Senate. I really could. And if we see what we saw with the, I think it was the state comptroller election, the commie corridor all went against Thomas DiNapoli. He's been in office for 20 plus years, I think. And all these younger transplants or first generation foreign born people, they're voting for the more radical option. But you see areas like Ozone Park, Whitestone, South Brooklyn, all of Manhattan almost, and then Staten Island, they're still going with DiNapoli. And I don't think AOC would win a primary against somebody like Chuck Schumer or somebody like Tom DiNapoli if she does not become more relatable to the average person, or even like the average conservative Democrat. There's still plenty of them out there. Check out Whitestone. Or even below Hillside Avenue, it's mostly Democrat over there, but they're not exactly leftist, to my understanding, depending on the neighborhoods. I mean, would you agree? Would you disagree?
I mean, I think she's just trying to get her votes in now, but I don't know what her actual plan is for the future besides having kids, I guess.
Yeah, well, if she even does,
yeah,
you know. But where do you think her angle is, Dewayne?
With AOC, I don't know. Her angle is whatever, get her votes. It's really not authentic. I mean, even the conversation of freezing your eggs. I mean, a lot of your constituents are very happy to have kids and have families, and to have done it the organic God, given way. I truly, again, I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting to see if these DSA lunatics in a lot of ways, because I mean, they want to do things like replace the Senate, get rid of the presidency, all that.
Yeah.
Will they be able to win statewide? We're kind of seeing this with Abdul Al-Said. It's different when you are in a very blue district and all you have to do is keep kicking the can in a more blue area, a blue, way. But, upstate New York, Nassau, Suffolk, there's a lot of areas that are horrified at the idea of someone with her ideology kind of ruling all of New York. So, I mean, we'll see how far left we could push the states.
Yeah, and actually a really good example of that, I think I mentioned this a couple of shows ago, is Errol Toulon. He is the Democrat sheriff of Suffolk County. And I'll be honest, I voted for him back when I could vote, in Suffolk, that is, because he's just doing a good job. He's common sense. He runs on the Democratic and conservative lines, I believe. And he's just a common sense, regular Democrat who punishes crime and who caught the Go-Go killer. I mean, if you're from Long Island or the surrounding area, you know how important it is. That's kind of like a cultural staple of ours. We had the Go-Go killer, and now he is going to be behind bars for a very, very long time. I'd argue he should get worse. But
the DSA wants to abolish prisons.
Well, that's exactly.
There will be no prisons.
And to your point,
So safe.
It's going to be extremely safe.
No.
We're going to have a prison section, a non-prison section, a formerly incarcerated section.
Amazing.
But no, it's going to be one
Can't wait to
hodgepodge
see
of
it.
stabbing.
It'll be Gotham, just like when Bane let out all the prisoners. Can't wait to
So
see
true.
it.
I was, what was it? It was Chuck Schumer was raised in the darkness, but AOC was born in it. Except just switch it out for socialism or switch it out for Mao Zedong's communism. I feel like, just wrapping back around to your point about her freezing her eggs, right? It's none of my business. People want to make their own decisions. Personally, I disagree, but that's not my business, right? But her promoting it on social media, almost kind of like, and people look up to this lady. Unfortunately, people look up to AOC.
Yeah.
And also in the Communist Manifesto, when I was reading it, because you need to understand your enemy to defeat your enemy, when I was reading through it, the abolition of the family is a very large tenet in communism.
Yes, it is.
And I also want to have a family the natural way. I don't want to have anyone freeze eggs or whatever. Yeah. And if they do, that's probably for good reason, probably for bad reason, excuse me. And it's like, we can see the manifesto coming to life in real time with certain people.
Yeah.
Al-Said, with AOC, with
Mamdani.
With Mamdani, that's the name I was looking for. And then a lot of our city council people here in New York are just downright crazy people.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're Kayla Santoso, she claims to not be a DSA, or she's a total DSA, or she was a card carrying member for a number of years. And George Sarantopoulos called her out on the debate stage. She was speechless. So, it's ridiculous. But especially when you take a look at what's going on nationally.
Yeah.
We have Hong, who barely lost.
Yeah.
And we have Al-Said, who will go to the general election. But personally, I think that AOC is going to run for Senate in 28. I believe that's when Schumer's up, is in 28. I could be wrong about that, because he ran in 22, so it'd be 28. But okay, we do have another one.
If I could just say on that. I
yeah,
think
of
that
course.
when you look at the Democrats, they generally advocate for everything that is against God's will, biblically.
So true.
And I think it's important now where we're having conversations of different faiths, and now in leadership in America where they haven't been before, where they never existed,
right?
To now have people look at things in a biblical sense. Because you talk about the manifesto, and communists very much so believing that government is God.
Yeah.
So the idea of delaying or removing family, how does that benefit communists? Why? I mean, when you have families, you kind of have different values in which you look at, right? But when you don't, it's very easy to, they need more comrades.
Yeah.
So you need single, available people who aren't having kids to be able to do that. Also, you need the demoralization of society. What does the DSA do? Tell us how bad we are. So there's really no hope, right? Unless we go to and pray to the government. So we got to start looking at these things spiritually to see if this is really aligned with God's will, and this is how we should be voting. Because when you look at everything they're pushing, in my view, it's very much so against God's will.
I agree. And this is not only a spiritual battle, it's also a battle of ideas. And most people, and most, I should say, native-born Americans, Donald Trump in 2016 won the popular vote amongst native-born Americans. I think it was 49-47 or 51-49. It was something like that. I know he won the popular vote amongst native-born Americans. And the reason I say that is because ICE is ramping up now, and they bought these brand new shock gloves. ICE purchases from thehill.com. ICE purchases electric shock gloves, and this prompts Democratic outrage. Have you guys heard of this? You guys read about this ever?
Yes.
I know it was very recent. Can I
Yes.
get your thoughts, Dwayne?
I don't, I think that people might have concerns that we talked about earlier. If you have a heart condition, how do you know if somebody's pregnant? Because ideally, you don't want everyone being tased. You know, it's someone that's elderly. But also at the same time, I don't want people breaking into my country illegally. I don't want people running over police officers. I don't want people trying to break free and causing innocent people harm. And a lot of these individuals that they're trying to capture are people that have had severe crimes. And I think we've gotten too comfortable with thinking about how to be ethical to people who aren't ethical to the innocent.
Right.
And I believe that there should be restrictions. Maybe it's not the first two officers. Maybe it's the, the captain that has this. So it's more of an escalatory thing as opposed to we're just introducing this in the beginning to get, someone to behave. But at the same time, when you look at these videos, people are being crazy. And we need to protect our police officers. So if this helps and they use it responsibly, I'm for it.
Let's also speak the truth here. If you enter the United States illegally, whether it's for the southern border or a visa overstay, a lot of it's visa overstays, you're a criminal.
Yes.
And you need to be either deported or sent to jail, ideally deported elsewhere.
And the same way we would be in their country.
Yeah, but the reason I say that is if you commit the crime and you resist arrest, you're going to get zapped the same way you would at a traffic stop. If you're hitting the officer and he zaps you, you're going to get zapped. I think the gloves are fantastic. Honest to God. I got to be so honest. I love the gloves. I do want to read a quote. And this is disgusting that the Homeland Security Committee Democrats wrote this on X. I think it's ridiculous. This is, again, from thehill.com. ICE agents shoot innocent people. Wrong. They pepper spray innocent people, and now the Trump administration wants to spend $20 million to give them gloves to tase people. This is insanity. What planet are they living on, Dwayne? Or Naj, either one of you?
They're, innocent. They're not innocent. These are obviously people that are breaking the law.
Yeah.
We're not just getting rid of innocent people. These are criminals. And the gloves are a great idea. I think it'll instill more fear so that these ICE agents can do what they're getting paid to do, which is getting rid of criminals that have entered this country illegally.
Yeah, and it's I feel like the visceral gut reaction against ICE, and I have another immigration story I want to get to. We have 3 really exciting programs after the live show, so I want to get to those pretty soon. The visceral reaction against ICE is like they're treated like they're like the Gestapo. They're treated as if they're like this evil paramilitary, like Resident Evil or something, like evil paramilitary organization. They're paramilitary in some ways, but they're extremely necessary. We have an invasion. That's what it is. It's an occupation, a colonization, an invasion, whatever you want to call it. We are being invaded by foreigners. I'm sorry. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
We're being invaded. And the front line of defense, the first form of defense is ICE. And we need to support them wholeheartedly, 100%. Anybody who can't get behind very, very, very simple regulations on if you came here illegally, we're going to kick your ass out, probably also should be kicked out. Let's be honest. And that's hyperbole, obviously, but let's keep it real.
And I'll say we need to be honest about what abolishing ICE means.
Yeah.
It means surrendering our country.
Yep.
And this is what people want us to do. And this is why Europe is done. Because, Europe gets it first and then it comes over the Atlantic and we get it second. But they have essentially surrendered their country. When you see what happened in Spain with Ceuta, right? I believe it's
Ceuta, yeah. That's the next one.
You have a town with women and children that are flooded, and you almost double the population with military-age men. And now women are concerned for their safety. There's even reports of rape, all this. That's what happens when you don't have a border. And I have never heard an argument from Democrats as how it benefits me as a foundational American to flood my country with people from abroad who many of them hate me. They think that if I'm a Christian, I should be beheaded and my family and kids should be taken as sex slaves. I mean, these are some of the individuals, that have this ideology that you're letting in. Yeah. And thankfully in our Constitution, we have the Second Amendment. that
Mhm.
guarantees us our right to defend ourselves, unlike in other countries. But freedom has to be fought for. And if we let these lunatics that want to get rid of ICE or, want us to have us surrender our country, the same thing that happened all over abroad to Christian countries getting taken over and the population essentially being executed could happen here. And not to be an
Absolutely
alarmist,
could.
but it's happened before. It could happen again.
It has happened before, the Iberian Peninsula, as we mentioned before, and they were occupied for, I think it was, hundreds of years. I don't want to, and I do foresee a potential future where we're sending American soldiers on rescue missions to Berlin, Paris, and London because their women are going to be forced into Sharia law and their men are going to be executed by the 2040s, 2060s, 2080s. And that's not hyperbole, actually. That's how it is in Saudi Arabia. That's how it is in Iran.
I mean, not if we have a President Abdul Saeed or President
Mhm.
Piker. Because remember, these are people that are American citizens that were born here that are eligible for presidents to be president. So we're kind of dealing with a code red situation here. And it's not, again, being against everyone from different parts of the world. There are some amazing people that come from every corner of this world and just want to come here to be Americans. But it doesn't mean that the ideology of that country needs to come here too. And if
Absolutely.
we're not safe or if we're not actually active, that same ideology that's ruined so many corners of the world could happen here, just as we're seeing in Europe.
It's so true. And that's the final story of tonight. Thousands of illegal migrants set up makeshift garbage huts on beach of Spanish Ceuta. How do you say it?
Suda.
Ceuta.
Suta.
Weeks after invasion. And we'll make this quick. I wanted to get to you. You've seen what they're doing in Spain, in the
Mhm.
Spanish territory, in Africa, rather. What can the Spanish government do? Well, they're against the people, actually, but what can the West do to repel this invasion from the third world? Is there anything we can do? Are we cooked? What's going on?
I mean, I'm so confused. This is what they asked for. They said they were going to give these migrants, what's it called?
Asylum?
Yes, asylum. But then now they're complaining that there's poop everywhere. It's a polluted beach, but it's like you're inviting third world into your country. You're going to be third world.
Yeah.
It's very simple.
Yeah. Have you seen Minneapolis like ever since the 1990s?
I mean, we could look right here in New York City.
Mhm.
New York City was one of the cleanest, high class places of anywhere in the world. If you look at what New York City was depicted as in the 30s, 40s, 50s,
The
Yeah.
roaring 30s.
it has drastically decreased in quality of life, and that is also because we have drastically changed our population. I mean, in
Mhm.
1960, we were about 90% white, 10% black.
Yeah.
Now it's about 20% white. I think over half of the black population that's here is now either foreign born or immigrant.
Yeah.
So that's population replacement.
It is.
And when you replace a society, whatever you replace it with takes over. And this is why our quality of life has decreased. And again, when people come here and they want to assimilate, they take the social cues around and say, wow, they cut their grass. Wow, this is how they drive. But when you go to other places that I've gotten to travel the world and you see, they're just importing that mindset to, here. And unfortunately for young girls, there's societies where they marry little girls
Mhm.
and little boys. There's societies to where your kids can't or your family can't walk outside because there's some lustful, horny, demonic animal outside that wants to snatch your daughter away and take her. I mean, these are the things. So we have to protect our homeland. We have to protect our people. And that doesn't mean that it's only about what you look like, but it's our values of how we live our life, which is guided by God. This is why we're in one country under God. And when we replace God with any other false prophet or anybody else, we take the troubles of that society with us.
Absolutely. And I'll say this, and this is obviously my opinion only. I can't speak for you two, but ever since I'll say 1965, 1970, mass immigration, both illegal and legal, has been a disaster for the American people.
Yeah.
It's been a disaster. The
Mass
Hart-Celler
levels, yes.
Yeah, the Hart-Celler Immigration Act of 1965 was signed into law nearly unanimously. There were polls taken of it, I believe, the following decades later, and the majority of them said they would still be okay with it. I'm sorry, they would still be okay with it, and I'm forgetting the actual poll numbers itself, but they'd still be okay with the migration over time, the replacement over time. And then there was a huge, I think it was 30-something% that was undecided. They didn't know. They would depend on if the native population, which happened to be European and Black, would be replaced.
I'll say if you were to go back in time and show them a picture of what New York City, what their cities would look like today, back then,
it's literally just pictures.
people would say, "Oh no!" And I have to bring it up, but the 250,000 plus women in the UK that were raped, sexually assaulted by majority foreigners that you imported, that is treason. And if it happened there, it could happen here. And it was predominantly white girls. There's some other types. There's also some boys in there as well. But how do you turn a blind eye to your own population getting feasted on by people that you imported in? And it doesn't mean everybody abroad believes that, but it was happening. And the liberal media doesn't care. How they talk about Epstein, all that. Mamdani was talking about arresting Benjamin Netanyahu when he comes here. Why is he not talking about arresting people from the UK that turned a blind eye to over 250,000 girls being raped?
Instead of arresting Benjamin Netanyahu, and don't get me wrong, I certainly have gripes with Netanyahu. I think he's been doing a lot of things wrong. But when it comes to that, don't arrest the prime minister of a foreign country that you have nothing to do with. Arrest the criminals in New York City that are stabbing people on the 7 train. It's quite easy, actually.
Oh, but he goes to
and
the
they
jails.
don't want to do that.
He needs to
Remember,
focus
he
here.
goes to the jails and he has.
Didn't he watch the game with them?
Yeah, and full catered food with people
Wow.
in prison. And not saying that people in prison can't, repent and change their ways, but what sign is that sending? That the mayor will go have dinner with prisoners, but not the victim of what the prisoners are there for.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And this all kind of loops around, not all of it, but certainly a large amount of this loops around to the tens of thousands of illegal aliens entering both Europe and the United States. The United States to a lesser extent.
It's millions.
Well, on like a weekly basis, I'd say, because it's said maybe more than 2 weeks after tens of thousands of. So, and that's just one instance where I think it was 40,000 penetrated the Spanish
people who hate us.
enclave. What happened?
People who hate us, that call our culture slum and trash. And these are the people that we're letting in and now elected to rule over us. And, I'll just say, when you look at the Bible in Deuteronomy, it speaks about not doing this. There's biblical ways to run your government. And it shows when you do this, they will rule over you and bankrupt you. It's not good.
So true. And the Camp of the Saints said this perfectly. They said I forget the exact quote, but they said something to the effect of, they will be tired, they will be cold, and they will make a fire out of your beautiful oak door. They're not going to care about the pleasures and the great things we have here in America. They want to bring the bad things and some of the good things that they had from any of the third world countries. A great example is the invasion happening in Spain right now. It's just all garbage huts in that particular Spanish province or Spanish area where they've occupied, essentially. It's not really immigration at this point in Europe. It's occupation, it's colonization, it's an invasion. That's just how it is.
And they're not going to assimilate into that culture. They don't want to. They're so stuck in their ways.
Go to Queens.
They just want the freebies.
Just go to Queens. Corona may as well be, I believe it's majority like Ecuadorian. It's a bunch of different Central American countries. It's little Ecuador. Go to Flushing. It's little Beijing. And these enclaves are being established all throughout, not only America, not only Europe, but throughout the world.
Yeah.
You'll see it even in Sydney or even in Perth in Australia, where, you have ethnic enclaves that refuse to assimilate because they only want to stick with their own.
Yep.
And I'll say, it's interesting because Mamdani put out a nice colonization map of New York City where all these cultures that didn't do anything to contribute to America, for some reason, gets notoriety here. But when you look at it, when you think, that is how you destroy the social fiber of a country. You import so many people that it becomes tribal. Yeah. Right. This little pocket here, this little pocket here. And this is why they need to get their politician in, and then they get to siphon the money out. That's how a lot of these Democrats get elected, by these fraudulent nonprofits that don't do anything, like we've seen with Nick Shirley, that are just funneling money into the community, ultimately internationally. But what is one thing that unifies people regardless of where you're born? Religion. So if we were at one point bound together by Christianity, because we were a mostly all Christian country, and we've removed God from everything and we've imported so many people, okay, what are we going to import also? An ulterior, a different religion, which we have to have questions of whether we want to be ruled by the ideals of what different gods desire. And it's so unfortunate that we're having this conversation, because this is all things we imported in. These are not things that are bringing us together. We have to decide, what do we want to be? And this goes against everything of what the founding fathers would have wanted for America. And it doesn't mean that there's not things that are good that comes from abroad, but America shouldn't be like anywhere else. The world should be like America.
Absolutely.
And when we change that, we've lost the plot.
Absolutely. We have lost the plot. It's a good way to put it. I want to get to our other programming. Do we have any final thoughts, Naj?
No, I totally agree with what you said. We shouldn't be importing what everyone else is bringing to this country. We should be the dominant society.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's
America
our
the
manifest
Great.
destiny, one could say.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Dewayne, any final thoughts? And also, where can we find you? Because I want to get to our
yes, you could find me Instagram, Dewayne Moore __. You could also see me on Newsmax Tuesday 9 to 12. I'll be on. And I just want to say, thank you for having me on. I love America. America is the greatest country on earth. We need to be unapologetic about that. Our heritage, Americans that built this country, that fought the wars, that know what it's like to struggle here. We need to be loud and outspoken now more than ever before we lose our country and the world overtakes us and colonizes us. This is a code red. This is not a joke anymore. There are people literally, they're coming in that want to destroy this country and brainwashing people who are here to go along with it. And we want to have a nation that's better for our kids in the future, not one that our kids can't exist in. So we got to fight hard.
Absolutely. It's an apt analysis, Dewayne. It's an apt analysis. And now we have a bunch of interesting, really cool programming coming up for you. We have a new one coming up. It's the Intel Report with Thomas D. Corbett. If I'm saying that wrong, it's for the first time. I'll get used to it, big guy. Sorry about that. We have the Intel Report. We have the Frank Forum, and we have the Reality Check with Yulia, all coming to you right now. This has been the New York Young Republican Club podcast. Thank you to our crew. Thank you to our two amazing, amazing guests. Thank you so much. We'll see you next Sunday. God bless you. God bless America. God bless the New York Young Republican Club, and have a great night.
The invasion of Europe is far from over. In fact, it seems to be speeding up. The people of Europe have consistently said enough immigration. They've been saying it for a while. No one is listening. Now it looks like Marine Le Pen will win the next French election. The AFD are surging in Germany, and Nigel Farage just won his re-election in England. So how are the elites in Europe responding to this? Are they listening to the people, changing their policies? No, of course not. They are ramping up the invasion in the hopes that they'll have enough new Europeans to outvote the old Europeans. You know, the difficult ones who actually like their country, who care about borders and protecting their culture. They've been there for thousands of years. We don't want them. They're not the good ones. We've got to have the new Europeans. Spain, of course, has just announced an amnesty for all its migrants. Well, what does that mean? Do you think these people, these men, they're all just men. Do you think these men are just going to stay in Spain and learn Spanish? Of course not. There's no jobs in Spain. They're going to flood the continent. They're going all over. That's what it means. They're now European citizens, free to travel anywhere in the continent. They're even able to travel to the United States as a tourist without a visa. How many will get here and just overstay? Once they get here, trust me, they're not going anywhere. They are not leaving. This place is great. This is where they want to be. So the Institute for Remigration has released this amazing graphic. It really puts into perspective the sheer number of people that have invaded Europe over the last 10 years. Europe is getting close to a breaking point. Just this week, a group called the NYYRC emerged and announced that they demand all migrants to leave Ireland or they will start a civil war. The elites in Europe are playing with fire. These Irishmen, you don't want to mess with the Irish, let me tell you. 5 years ago, the term remigration meant nothing to your average everyday voter. Most people just ignored the problem and didn't bother to speak up. Well, today that has changed. You will hear young and old across Europe acknowledging the problem. Girls are unable to walk down the once safe streets at night. Islamic prayer is ringing out across the great Swedish capital. Muslim rape gangs from Birmingham to Berlin. The source of these problems is clear, and the people have had enough. No more immigrants is the first demand. Now more and more are calling for the millions that arrived here to be sent back. These people aren't refugees. They aren't women and children fleeing war. Pakistan is a safe country. These are fighting age men exploiting European generosity. The days of open border Europe are coming to an end. The elites know it, and they're cramming in as many people as possible before the new leaders can slam the gates shut once and for all. The question, of course, is then going to become, can we actually deport any of them? We've seen President Trump struggle with it here. I wonder, is Europe going to be able to do the same thing?
Certain type of politician who can look you dead in the eye after years of radicalism and just casually rewrite their own history like it's a rebrand. I'm talking about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, of course. I saw this clip this week and I actually laughed out loud. Not because it's funny in a good way, because if you don't laugh, you'll start throwing things. Watch.
But the fact of the matter is that the momentum is on our side and that we're winning and that we've won the generational argument and that millennials are radicalized.
And I have a local city councilman that has this saying, woke one was crazy.
Woke one was crazy. Okay, that's interesting.
Tell me you're running without telling me you're running. Woke one was crazy. Cool. I'm really glad we cleared that up after the damage was already done. And the timing is almost too perfect because while she's out here laughing off the radical years like they were just a phase, she's also documenting her egg freezing journey on Instagram.
You're not alone. I also find the freak out around it pretty funny as well. I'm not gonna lie. Commentator that was like, what she's doing is peddling the dangerous lie that women can have it all. Can you believe that? You know, I find it very funny because the way of life that conservatives are trying to push out there, which is to marry young and have lots of kids at a young age, that is no threat to me. I celebrate it. If that is a choice that you are coming to freely and you feel good about it, that is no threat to me. But what I do find funny is that my choice is a threat to them.
Now, I want to be fair. I want to be measured. Sorry, guys. I want to approach this with grace and nuance. Just kidding. Let's get into it. We don't care. Like, genuinely. I promise you, the average person on the right is not losing sleep because AOC is getting hormone injections on Instagram. We're fine. You can freeze every egg you've got, knock yourself out. The only people treating this like a civilizational event are the ones who need every personal decision to be a political statement. And while we're on the topic of who is and isn't having kids, at this rate, the bigger long-term problem for the left isn't that conservatives feel threatened. It's that there might not be enough Democrats left to vote in 20 years. Because the same ideological package that treats early family formation like some kind of suspicious lifestyle choice is also the one producing the lowest birth rates in the country. As of 2024, roughly 75% of liberal women between 18 and 35 are childless, compared to about 40% of conservative women the same age. Married liberal women are 3 times more likely to be childless than married conservative women. Liberal women have a completed fertility rate of about 1.5 children. Conservative women, 2.1. Pro-Trump counties have birth rates 26% higher than pro-Harris counties. That gap was 8% in 2012. It's now 26%, and it's growing fast. So the egg freezing isn't just a personal quirk, it's a demographic statement. The left has decided that self-expression is the point, that children, family, continuity, those are the patriarchy's values. That a boss babe freezing her eggs at 36 to pursue a presidential run is aspirational. And I'm not even gonna be mean about it because honestly, from a purely political standpoint, maybe it works out for us. You cannot vote if you were never born. And the left is genuinely self-selecting out of the gene pool. The egg freezing just extends the runway a little, maybe. But here's where the egg freezing becomes genuinely sad. Bloomberg Business did a story a while back, I think it was in 2014, on the poster child for the freeze your eggs, free your career movement. So this woman who did everything right by the feminist playbook, she froze her eggs, filled her career, came back for them. 2 eggs failed to survive the thawing, 3 more failed to fertilize, 6 embryos, 5 abnormal. The last one was implanted, and it failed too. And she apparently collapsed to the ground screaming, because that's what you get when you put your career over everything else and trust that science will fix the biology you ignored for 15 years. AOC said 6 years ago she couldn't afford egg freezing. It costs between $8,000 and $20,000, if not more. She's now a 4-term congresswoman making, $174,000 a year. So she absolutely can afford it now. She just waited. And now she's documenting it for content while she decides whether to run for president or not. This is what woke 2.0 looks like. Because here's what she's trying to do with the woke one was crazy comment. She's trying to distance herself from the actual record while keeping every single position. She's not moderating, she's just rebranding. That's all this is. And then there's the personal side of the rebrand. AOC is 36. She and Riley Roberts met in college, got back together years later, and got engaged in 2022. She never married him, and this week, right as she's going viral for freezing her eggs and making it everyone's business, reports confirm that AOC and Riley actually broke up about 2 years ago and called off the entire engagement. She hasn't addressed it. She didn't mention the poor guy once in the egg freezing video. She just lifted her shirt and started filming. And look, I don't enjoy getting into someone's personal life, but she put it online, so I'd say it's fair game. Also, and this is the part that actually matters for a potential presidential run, as long as they remained legally unmarried, Riley's stock trades and financial holdings stayed completely hidden from public disclosure. The House Ethics Committee has already rebuked her once for claiming he is her spouse when it gets her free Met Gala tickets and travel, but is not her spouse when it comes to financial disclosure. So she's been running a loophole, so to speak. And I think Ilhan Omar would be quite impressed. So engaged, but not married, now apparently broken up, freezing eggs, announcing it on Instagram, floating a presidential run. This is the woman who wants to run the most powerful country on earth. And she couldn't even figure out how to have a baby with a guy she's known since college. Also, for the record, you can actually be a Democrat and be married to a white guy, AOC. So if that was part of the concern, you're good. The white fiance was never the problem. The rest of the package might be. Anywho, while she's busy soft launching the Woke One Was Crazy rebrand, let's just quickly remember what Woke One actually looked like when she was fully in it. June 2020 on X, in her own words, defunding police means defunding police. It does not mean budget tricks or funny math. September 2020, during a House hearing, she was pushing the idea that white supremacy infiltration of policing was the defining issue of American law enforcement.
This problem is an issue. It's a matter of how we have allowed it to sustain for so long. Congress as well has been complicit, and our silence has allowed for more violence and continued generational trauma in our communities. The question was raised by the ranking member earlier. Why do we keep talking about this? We keep talking about this because we have not solved this problem. And I want to make very clear that when we talk about systemic racism, we aren't litigating the individual attitudes of any one officer. We can all exist in racist systems, and you do not have to be racist or consciously racist in order to participate in these systems. And
what? Anyway, on cancel culture, she said, the term cancel culture comes from entitlement. Odds are you're not actually canceled. You're just being challenged, held accountable, or unliked. Now, Tell that to Jody Shaw. She was an administrator at Smith College who made one Facebook post saying she didn't want to discuss her whiteness as a condition of doing her job. One post and they forced her out. Or Mimi Groves got into the University of Tennessee on a cheerleading scholarship. I mean, these girls are serious athletes. A classmate held onto a 3-second video of her singing along to a popular song with a slur in it from 2 years earlier, waited until she got the scholarship, then released it. She was then forced to withdraw. These are AOC's productive conversations. These are her idea of holding people accountable. These are the people, the women, the left loves to claim they champion, whose lives got ruined while she's now laughing on national television about how woke one was just crazy. These things have consequences. I bet our friends over on the left will have a tough time with this one. But did you know that roughly 2,500 additional Black Americans were murdered in the immediate aftermath of summer 2020, the summer of love, as a direct result of the defund the police movement and the policing pullback that followed? 2,500. And that's just Black victims. It doesn't even count the Asian, the white, and Hispanic Americans killed in the same crime surge. So you know what? Shame on AOC for trying to walk away from that body count while keeping the same politics. Now, Wisconsin. What does Wisconsin have to do with any of this? Well, the same week AOC is rebranding, Francesca Hong, the lovely DSA candidate for Wisconsin governor who wanted to cancel your Thanksgiving, just narrowly lost her primary. Polls had her up by 20 to 30 points. She lost to Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley by about 4,000 votes. 5 of 9 USB sticks in Milwaukee contained audit logs instead of actual ballot results. You had a late night drop. NBC couldn't even explain it. Watch this.
Okay. Wow. What the heck just came in Brown? Which was that that was huge for her.
Yeah, so that was about 18,000 votes. And she nets 2,000.
Question. Was that that wasn't central count, was it?
It's possible. There's no remaining vote in Brown according to our counter. I'll check the check the website.
I said I want percent more, but now I do, because if that was central count, what was his percentage of that vote?
Let's take a look.
If this was central count, this is the question we're getting at from Milwaukee. If he just got buried in central count Green Bay.
It was 44 to 34. Hong over Crowley.
Okay, yeah, can we ask our decision desk what we think that was that just,
yep.
And do we think there's central count left for?
Oh, this is good. They can't even ask about this, about what really happened artfully, because reality finally hit him and NBC that voter fraud could be real in American elections. And you can't spin this on Trump or the GOP because this happened in a Democratic primary election. So, did the Democrats steal the election from communist Francesca Hong? And on live TV, might I add? Oh, this is good. Was it the Democrat establishment schlonging their own insurgent communists to put up a more electable candidate? Honestly, make of it what you will. What I find most interesting is that she almost won. She canceled Thanksgiving. She apparently hates Valentine's Day because, I don't know, capitalism teaches you how to love. She hosted menstruation-themed dinners. She wanted to abolish the police and pack the Supreme Court. And she almost won a major Democratic gubernatorial primary while being this weird. The DSA machine is genuinely powerful, even when the candidate is a walking liability, which is exactly why what's coming in 2028 is not a joke. Because AOC learned what Francesca Hong didn't. Keep the position, change the packaging. Smile more, talk about eggs on Instagram. Don't say the quiet part out loud. A New Hampshire poll from July shows AOC leading the Democratic field with 22%. The Washington Post is running pieces lately about how this may be AOC's best chance in 2028. Polymarket has her at about 20% odds. I think last time I checked it was like 14. She's now at 20% odds of winning the Democratic nomination, above Gavin Newsom in California. These are betting markets, not polls. It's actual money that's taking this seriously. James Carville said she has no chance, which, as a historical matter, is roughly the same thing people said about Trump in 2015. So, and here's the thing that should concern you. I've been saying that she's not actually moderating. The Tesla she drives is charged at a station in her building owned by Amazon. She lives above a Jeff Bezos-owned Whole Foods in Washington, D.C. She wanted to defund the police and then staged a fake arrest with fake handcuffs for the cameras. She grew up in Yorktown Heights, a leafy, wonderful suburb some 30 miles from the Bronx, not the Bronx. She claimed she couldn't see a garbage disposal before.
I am told this is a garbage disposal. I've never seen a garbage disposal. I never had one in any place I've ever lived. It is terrifying. I don't know what to use it for or what its purpose is.
You don't know how to use a garbage disposal, but you want to run the free world. Okay, got it. You can't tell me there were no garbage disposals in her childhood home or in her neighbor's childhood homes in Yorktown Heights. Come on. Every single thing is a performance. Woke 2 is Woke 1 with better branding and an Instagram egg freezing series. The radicalism did not go anywhere. The vocabulary got softer. The coalition got bigger, and the useful idiots got better at hiding what they actually believe until they're in power. And speaking of coalition, let's talk about who she's building it with, because this is where it stops being funny. The DSA and the Islamist movement that's taken over Democratic primaries from New York to Michigan have formed an alliance. You saw it in the Columbia encampments, you see it in Mamdani's coalition, you see it with AOC. They share one thing in common. They both hate the same institutions, the same civilization, and the same country, our country. But there's a problem because what they don't agree on is anything else. One side wants, I don't know, queer liberation. The other side would throw those people off buildings. But the enemy of my enemy is my friend, for now. And AOC is riding that coalition straight toward a presidential primary. So what does this coalition look like when the mask slips? Watch.
And, we have a unique responsibility to act from the heart of empire, the belly of the beast. The most important thing that we can do is take that empire down from within.
Our role ultimately is to facilitate our own empire's failure in ways that we can, ultimately to overthrow our own empire.
U.S. imperialism is not a thing that can be reformed away. It has to be overthrown through revolutionary struggle.
And to build a mass movement that can use the leverage of workers to hit the kill switch on American imperialism here within the American empire.
Well, there you have it. They're straight up telling us what they plan to do. The only problem is, what are they going to replace it with exactly? Because none of these communist losers have actually created a thing in their lives. But yeah, these are the people staffing these campaigns, knocking on doors, writing platforms, elevating candidates like Mamdani or Abdul El Sayed. AOC is just a more polished, media-trained face of that same machine. This is not progressive policy disagreements. This is open contempt for the country they want to govern. They don't want to reform America. They want to break it and rebuild something else in its place. They said it out loud, and then they run as Democrats. Meanwhile, the same network is elevating candidates who treat American law as optional and religious obligation as non-negotiable.
بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Question 755. When the state of Oklahoma voted in a referendum to amend the Constitution to ban Sharia law, what does that mean? I don't know. And yet the voters banned it anyway. And I don't have to tell you that the same exact forces that drove native peoples from their land 2 centuries ago destroyed Black Wall Street a century ago, bombed a building decades ago, and tried to ban Sharia law not a decade ago, that those forces are alive and well today.
Okay, Oklahoma. I didn't know you had game like that. But all jokes aside, what he's arguing here is that the US banned Sharia law because of hate and discrimination, and the forces that banned it are the same forces that committed, I don't know, insert every historic evil. So essentially what he's doing is putting Sharia law in the same category of victimhood as historic American tragedies, which really is a perfect example of how illiberal movements use liberal politics as a Trojan horse to smuggle in authoritarianism. Because at the end of the day, it's what they want. The language is consistent throughout. It's a lifelong obligation, Sharia-compliant living, and a political project that treats American institutions as temporary obstacles. Now, the left in this movement, they don't need completely identical end goals. They just need the same short-term enemy, and right now, that enemy is the existing American order, the Constitution, the borders, the idea that this country belongs to the people who built it, and the people who assimilate into it. So yeah, AOC learned the lesson Francesca Hong didn't. Soften the language a little bit, smile more, laugh off woke one like it was a youthful mistake, but keep the same radical network underneath. Keep the same open hatred of the American system, just package it better for 2028. That's the play. Because 2028 gives them an opportunity to usher in woke 2.0, and what could that possibly look like?
American melting pot. We do not want to melt into American society and disappear. We want to go into American society with Islamic ideals and revamp their thinking. We want to revamp them. We want to turn them into Muslim individuals. We shouldn't have feelings of a distaste for them or intolerance because they're potential Muslims.
Oh, goody. How exciting. Convert the host society from the inside. Make no mistake, this is the network AOC is tied to. Now, look, I know we got some issues on the right, a little bit of an internal war, and I get it. You got some Republicans in Congress making it way more difficult than it should to pass simple legislation. Like, come on, how hard is it to pass the SAVE Act, for crying out loud? And affordability, it's not looking too good at the moment. I'm still watching the White House and waiting to see where certain things go. I'm not going to pretend that everything is perfect, but we have to set this aside for a second and recognize what's coming if we don't come together and stop it. I already worry that it may already be too late, that this infiltration has been going on for too long, that it's already embedded. And it sure seems to be in way too many American communities. Because the bigger enemy is not just an Ilhan Omar or Francesca Hong or an El Sayed saying the quiet part out loud. The bigger problem is that they're getting smarter. AOC is the product of exactly this machine. She's just figured out that if you explain the real project too clearly, normal Americans will reject it. So the packaging changed, but the radical network stayed the same. And that's why 2028 matters. It's because they're learning. And this is also why we have to keep talking to people. Not the fully converted ones, that's a complete waste of time, but the ones still capable of hearing a contradiction, because I do think they're still out there. Because the left has put itself in an impossible position. You can't claim to stand for, I don't know, gay rights, female empowerment, free speech, freedom of expression especially, while partnering with movements that don't believe any of those things. You can't say no one is illegal and we love everyone while elevating people who openly talk about taking down a country from within and replacing its culture. Because that takedown, do you think it'll be peaceful? Do you think it'll be a peaceful takedown? Those things cannot coexist for long. And when you force people to look at both sides of that equation at the same time, some of them start to flinch. That's the pressure point. Make them reconcile the branding with the actual words. Most won't, but some will. Think of it like this. The radicals who say the quiet part out loud are useful. They test the temperature, they move the Overton window. But the real threat is the ones who watch those people get rejected and learn from it. The ones who understood that if you say, we need to take the empire down from within, normal people recoil. So instead, what do? You smile, you freeze your eggs on Instagram, you call the old version crazy, and you still keep the same network, the same donors, and the same long-term project. And while a lot of us on the right are busy fighting each other over process and purity and who disappointed us this week, that machine is still hiring, still canvassing, and still placing people, and still treating the Democratic Party like a host body. They don't need us to agree with them. They just need us distracted long enough. So yes, hold your own side accountable, demand better, but understand the asymmetry. One side is arguing over tactics. The other side is arguing whether the country should continue to exist in its current form. That is not the same fight. And if we keep treating it like it is, we're going to wake up one day and realize the soft rebrand worked. The radicalism never left, it just got better at smiling for the camera. Don't let the packaging fool you. And that's the reality check with Yulia.
Hello and welcome to the Frank Forum podcast. My name is Frank Filicomo. I'm the founder and editor of thefrankforum.com, and I'm once again joined by my good friend, Troy Olson. Troy is the sergeant at arms of the New York Young Republican Club and co-author of The Emerging Populist Majority. Troy, it turns out that we were really remarkably prescient in something that we said during the pilot episode of this podcast.
How so?
Well, it turns out that... do you remember Bumble, the dating app that I spoke to you about?
I do. I had to ask you 3 or 4 things to understand it.
Right.
Because I'm not a dating app.
You never used a dating app.
Never used a dating app.
Well, so we kind of, I quipped to you. I said that, the whole shtick with Bumble is that the woman has to approach the man first, right? They have to message.
That's right.
And I said, I kind of jokingly said that, which means that no one meets, right? And so this article just dropped. As of August 11th, Bumble has axed the one feature that distinguished it from its peers and is now enabling either men or women to contact a match first. So after some internal studies that Bumble conducted, it turns out that women don't want to make the first move. And they'd prefer, in the sort of, heteronormative way, to have the man make the first move. I wonder, and I read this article about it, which was coming from a left-wing perspective.
Of course.
And she had to kind of wrestle with the fact that women don't want to initiate romantic conversation.
And she's regretful that we're back to the default.
That's right.
That the man does it.
That's right.
Maybe she'll feel better about this. I've got news for you. The man also doesn't want to make the first move.
No one wants to make the first move.
No one wants to do it.
Yeah.
The fact that for many decades it was assigned to someone it was at least declarative.
Yeah.
And helpful.
It says this is backed up by Bumble's own data, hence the app's sudden pivot to allowing messaging from either party, which found that nearly 2/3 of women globally, 66% surveyed, said they'd prefer men to send the first message.
So the majority has spoken. Oh, that was a global poll?
That was a global poll.
All right. So this is obviously the liberal Westerner worldview that thinks their worldview is universal would, of course, feminism will work everywhere. We're empowered. We're going to make the first move. But the truth is that most people around the world do not think like a Western liberal. And most people are just perfectly fine being asked out. And a guy doesn't want to make it. Does that poll poll men as well if they want to make the first
No,
move?
this is polling women.
Just women.
It's hard. Let me tell you, it's hard. And I grew up in the age of or I started dating in the age of dating apps.
Yeah.
And so I've been on and off dating apps for 10 years, just about.
Sounds like an awful world.
Yeah, and I'll tell you a funny story. I don't know how to be a wingman because I myself am not single, but my friend is. And being a wingman is a really difficult thing because I wasn't taught how to do it because my default was Tinder and Bumble and Hinge.
Right.
And so I recently, a few months ago, had the pleasure of being my friend's wingman.
There you go.
And it was, it didn't go well. And so
you didn't know what to do.
I'll kind of just briefly tell you the story. I think it's funny. My buddy said to me, you got to wingman me tonight, right? And I said, dude, I don't know how to do that. Like, what do I do? And so we're at the bar. And we're talking it out. He goes, I don't know. Do I gas you up, or what? Do I talk you up, or what do we do? And then I came up with this brilliant idea where I would do this magic trick with a coin.
Okay.
Because I know how to do this really stupid magic trick.
Yep.
And then my friend would be totally dumb. And go, whoa! How'd you do that? And then that was kind of all we had. And so we went up to a table, a group of women.
This is cold wingmanning.
Yeah.
There's no.
Yeah, and so we go up to the table and we're mid conversation. And my friend's going, "How did you do that?" And then he turns to the girls and he goes, "I just can't figure out how my friend did that coin trick." And they actually went, "Okay, let's see it."
Oh.
And so then I did it, and they were I think they thought it was kind of funny. And then my friend went, "Yeah, I just can't figure out how we did that." And then there was silence, and he goes, "All right, well, thanks for your time."
Oh my god!
and we left.
Hearing that sounds painful.
We did it. Yeah, it was painful, and we didn't think it through all the way. And but no one teaches this stuff because our default has become, Jonathan Haidt has written about this in The Anxious Generation and other books. But our screen time has doubled, tripled in the last 10 years,
right?
Especially for Gen Z.
And we're just more anxious.
So I wonder, how are people, especially iPad kids, going to function when thrusted into the real world?
Clearly, we need a wingman app.
Oh, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
You're giving that idea away for free on this podcast.
I give a lot of things away for free. But you know what? We have about a few hours left before this airs. We can maybe quickly trademark it and talk to some tech people to roll this out. We'll call it the Wing app.
Yeah, you're a sociable guy, Troy. Do you have any advice for young men that are doing magic tricks to help their friends out at bars? It is
the popular conception, and when I say popular, I mean just literally the people that know me. So it's not ubiquitous or popular necessarily. But I think people see me as outgoing and sociable.
Yeah.
And affable, and that is technically true.
Yeah.
But I've always defined myself technically as an introvert.
Yeah.
That
doesn't check out to me, really.
Okay, but I define introvert extrovert by where you get your energy from, where you kind of rejuvenate from.
Yes.
And so I'm like somebody that actually needs a certain amount of time by myself to then be able to go back out and do all of the things that make people think I'm sociable, affable, etc. And so, but it does, you know, it is at the end of a long, you know, I'm in lines of work where I'm talking to people all the time. By the time I'm done with that, or on Friday night, I'm out. And then you get home and you're with your family, and you're always around people 24/7. So regarding being a wingman though, I don't think I knew how to be one either. And I actually had to do it.
What do you do?
Back before the app age, when you actually, I'll tell a story. You were not the subject of the embarrassing story. You were just like a side character in it.
I didn't help.
I'll tell you one where I'm a side character in
Please.
it, and I was in my young 20s. I may have just turned 21. So of course, when you turn 21, what do? In spring break, you go to Vegas. So my friend and I and 2 other people through him, we go to Vegas, and I am going to be his wingman at this place, and I'm going over and talking him up, and he's over there, and I get over there, and this is later in the night, and I forget why I'm there, and I had no pressure to me, because like I'm not, this is not for me. This is for him. So I was just sort of just rambling, just talking, and I'm very good at that.
I can't imagine you
It's
doing
almost like the rambling is sort of like a side product of maybe nervous energy, where you just go do a run on sentences. So I'm like in the zone on that front, utterly oblivious, don't ever come off well, just talking about stuff. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta talk about it. I gotta set him up. As by the way, I've got this friend, and I motion back over there, and he's passed out on the couch. He's passed out when I like turn, and it's like it was like sitcom-esque in like
That's hilarious.
the reveal of I turned back like, oh, and then at that point, well, that's the cue for them to leave. Thank God they did, because I was ready for that to be done.
Yeah. Well, I think the point is that you have to kind of be okay with embarrassing yourself.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of Gen Z are just like, I don't know, maybe we could just stay home and not put ourselves out there at all.
If you stay home and watch Netflix or whatever you're doing, you don't have to worry about being rejected.
I want to make a sort of a funny observation. I was watching the last episode of this podcast, and I like blurted out laughing, which I don't usually do. But there was a moment where we're both kind of, I can't even remember what the hell we were talking about, but we're both talking, and then there was just, you know, this is no shade on Ian, but there was just like a motion. The camera just went to the empty seat. And it looked like there was just an invisible third person. That was just the funniest thing. Anyway,
we should put something on the third seat in case that happens.
We should get like
some sort of character,
like a cutout of Rick Santorum or something funny like that.
I also always liked that late night TV convention where you would have, I don't know if there's an announcer, let's say Ed McMahon is what comes to mind, Johnny Carson show. Yeah. He was just kind of like there all the time, but rarely would say anything.
Yeah.
He just sat there.
Yes.
And I'm like, yeah, we could have someone like that that just sits there.
Yeah.
It's like
a
security blanket.
Kimmel.
Jimmy Kimmel had everyone. Yeah,
he has that random Hispanic guy in the corner.
Right. I don't know his name.
Am I making that up?
No, I think you're right. And that's been a convention. I think Conan would have like some guy in his band he'd always point to, or his unknown. You know, he'd always incorporate all of them as characters. Well, actually, he had a sidekick. His sidekick, Andy Richter, was a lot more involved though.
Well, leave in the comments who you want us to put in that chair there. And I think it's a good idea. Troy, do you feel like AI has made your life better? I don't. By the way, I've given up on trying to do transitions. I'm just on to the next thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're going. This will be a deep cut from anyone who watched this through Seinfeld, the 1990s. This is like when he's like shuffling through the cards.
Yeah.
And Lane Bennis, you're.
I'm just on to the next thing.
On to the next thing. And
have you used ChatGPT or Claude or anything like that?
I haven't used Claude, and somebody referenced Claude a few months back, and I thought they were talking about a person named Claude.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, it's an AI thing? No, I haven't used it. I've used ChatGPT a few times over certain things. If I just need like a draft of something produced faster to then change and work from, or to just get something kind of quickly. If it's like a convenience time thing, it's kind of like the new Google, you know, something that you might Google. I might just chat GPT it and see, because Google Well, I've always thought Google was a little biased. They have their own AI now too. So
Yeah.
I will occasionally use that, but not for anything substantial. I'll just use it as like I want to save 10, 20 minutes.
Well,
type
I
of thing.
remember talking to my buddy who's a writer.
Yeah.
And this was like 3 years ago, and he was really concerned about AI.
Right.
And he was like super freaked out about it. And he showed me a video of it was like a generation of Will Smith. Oh, shoot.
This just in.
All right, wait a minute.
This just in. I think
Can we pan?
Did we cast someone to be our person who sit? Did production figure this out?
We got the third guy.
Do we
have to go back
we
and
have the third guy?
superimpose him onto the earlier episode. I think Mario. I think you have to stay
I think
here
you
for
have
the
to
rest of
sit
the
down
podcast
now and
now.
just
All
don't
right.
say anything.
All
no,
right,
no,
here
no,
we
in that
go.
chair. In that chair.
Here we go. No,
in
it's
that
okay.
chair.
We got
it's
him.
even more awkward.
All right, all
it's
right.
even more awkward if you sit in the middle. Okay.
Mario,
All right, you're gonna sit there if you want to look at your phone and do whatever
Now,
you want to do.
what character
Feel free
is this?
to-
You mentioned Saul Goodman earlier. But I don't recall him wearing a hat like this.
Well, my pseudonym my pseudonym is it's Marv Freeman. It's the Saul Goodman for Mario Nicoletto. That's basically what I do. I'm
giving you the
walked
rest of
onto
the
set.
episode,
I
right?
walked onto the set to get a pack of cigarettes for my walk to the deli, and now I'm here. So
great.
Can I just say that this is literally feels like the Merv Griffith show?
Yeah.
Of in the Seinfeld episode at this point,
Or
where-
like Eric Andre, where weird things
where he
happen
like
in
comes
the middle
on
of it.
comes
All
from the
right,
side. Yeah.
Mario, I changed my mind. I'm kicking you out.
Yeah.
Thank you for
All right,
joining
good.
us.
Thank you.
All right.
Good to see you.
Excellent.
We'll send you $100.
Awesome.
All right. Venmo's in the mail. The reason I bring up AI, though, is that there was a great article written for Front Porch Republic.
Great site.
Wendell Berry. I don't know if you're familiar with Wendell Berry. He wrote I think, a excellent book called The Unsettling of America, The Unsettling of America. And he is kind of a Southern agrarian. He's not ideological in terms of someone you could pigeonhole as left or right. But, he lives on a farm in Kentucky, and his family's been there for generations and generations and generations. And he hates computers.
Yeah.
He hates AI. And I think that some people will maybe see him as like an old crank yelling at clouds or something. But I think that he's turned out to be quite prophetic. And in this essay, I think that it becomes apparent that a lot of his insights were quite good, actually. And here's a part of it where he says that when somebody has used a computer to write a work that is demonstrably better than Dante's, and when this better is demonstrably attributable to the use of a computer, then I will speak of computers with a more respectful tone of voice, though I will not buy one. And so I wonder, what is your opinion on the acceleration of AI? Is it actually, while impressive, is it actually making us better, more efficient people?
No, I don't think so. I think if you want, I think it's a new shortcut. I think it's just that there's always been shortcuts to do things. I think it's a new version of that, but I don't think it makes the final product any better necessarily.
Yeah.
I don't think it can replace like creativity and human inspiration. I think it can solve a problem that you would eventually get to anyway if you just spend enough time on it.
Yeah.
But you got to move on, and I think it's maybe gonna. I think that's where it will fit in, and maybe it keeps advancing and improving. But I sit in between the Luddite and where he's coming from, technology is every technological innovation is a tool. It's dependent on morality and ethics of the user.
I think, unfortunately, and I've sort of changed a little bit here and there on the AI question, but I'm leaning towards the Luddite camp now. And the reason for that is that I think that ChatGPT and Claude and all these things are actually anti-communitarian.
They are.
And that they take us away from each other. And there's and this is really a tragedy, and there are more stories like this, unfortunately, but there was a 14-year-old kid, I think this was sometime last year, and his parents noticed that he was,
increasingly retreating to his bedroom.
Yep.
And have you heard this story?
I think I have, but say it again because I don't.
And
I
so
may not
he
be
was
thinking
sort of
about
just
the same
kind
thing.
of closing himself off from the world and retreating into his bedroom. And I think his parents kind of just thought he was playing video games with friends or something, which we all did when we were that age.
Right.
But in fact, what he was doing was he was going on his computer and he was using AI. I believe the website is Character AI. And he created this, non-human personality that he fell in love with, which feels weird to say because you can't fall in love with AI. But and he was just endlessly exchanging correspondence with this artificial intelligence. And, eventually you could see through the messages, which we now have available, that he's slowly descending into a point of, suicidal ideation and things like that. And he says to the AI bot at one point, like, I don't want to be in this earth anymore, this place anymore. I want to be with you, in the next life or whatever. And the AI doesn't necessarily encourage him, but doesn't discourage him either. And, eventually he winds up killing himself.
That's awful.
Because, he wants to be with the AI. And so I think that, people could look at this as an anecdote and something that is not necessarily emblematic of what AI is going to do to us writ large. But I have used AI recently to help me with some things with work. And it's not a human, and it's not a human.
Yeah.
But it's also like, it's something that is non-judgmental.
Yep.
And helps you when you need the help.
Yep.
And I could see where in this, this generation, Gen Z, that is increasingly devoid of meaning and purpose and are angry that they feel they're not going to have the lives that their parents had, or they won't be able to buy homes or anything. From using ChatGPT a little bit now, I see why this is so tempting.
I'll throw in my tech pet peeve. It's actually just how ubiquitous the smartphone has become and how much it's viewed as an extension of your availability. And so there's 75 different ways to contact you. And I think that's made the world much worse. That right there, especially work-life balance, especially things like just focusing on what's in front of you.
That's right.
And this is kind of a similar concept in the sense that he's retreating to his room to go into that world. And so I think kind of these are tools, but some tools are a lot more dangerous than others, and I think we're seeing that.
I noticed that when I was 26 or 27, I can't remember how old I was when I joined the New York Young Republican Club.
Yeah.
But, I'm a lifelong Republican.
Community.
Yeah. I'm a lifelong Republican, and I'm also a lifelong New Yorker.
Yeah.
And, I think a lot of people watching this might resonate with that. But it's a very kind of isolating existence oftentimes because you are, you're the heterodox voice. You don't have a lot of people that you could sort of commiserate with.
Right.
And I mean, I tell the story to everyone, but I had I now deeply regret this, but I had a McCain Palin button on my backpack when I was like 9. Wow. And I was for Huckabee in the primaries before McCain.
I was I preferred Huckabee in the primaries too.
Yeah.
The reason I liked him was because of his religiosity. Which I thought was a better form of showing your religious.
Oh, and he really leaned into it.
Yeah,
too.
and he did, but he did it in a way that I thought was a little bit more authentic.
Yes.
Than what we had just seen. And I also really loved his weight loss story and his preventative healthcare focus.
Yeah.
When everyone else was saying socialist healthcare. So I really liked.
Oh, he's just a likable guy. He played the bass guitar. Or he still does.
I wrote in my notebook at the time, so I'd have been in college at this point, that I hope the future of the Republican Party. This at the time, I'm a Democrat when I'm writing this, but I said I hope the future of the Republican Party is Mike Huckabee, and I hope the future of the Democratic Party is Harold Ford. And We didn't get either one, but I think one is much closer than the other. Where the Dems are certainly not Harold Ford. In fact, I think Harold Ford might be a Republican any day now. And yeah, it's I was liking Huckabee in that primary.
Well, so at the time I was Brooklyn kid.
Yep.
Liked Mike Huckabee. Probably couldn't articulate why I liked him very much, but that's where I was coming from. Yeah. And through high school and college, I was never shied away from being a Republican. Quite the opposite. And it's isolating because you're told you're backwards and racist and all the things that everyone watching this has been called a racist and a bigot and everything. Yeah. But when I discovered the New York Young Republican Club, it was really incredible because one, it's a remarkable sense of community.
Yeah.
It's a disarming atmosphere.
Yeah.
And I wonder, when did you join the club, and why did you join it, and did you feel that same sense of like, wow, finally people like me?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I had been to a few different clubs. I had realigned. I voted for Trump in 2020, and I was realigned throughout that year. And yeah, it was definitely sort of, what is there around here?
Right.
From a, I think you're coming off COVID as well, which is the most isolating period in human history as far as I'm concerned. And it was like a forced isolation. I think there's a tendency to if isolation is your choice, and I spoke earlier about the need to just unwind and be alone. And I do love being alone because it's when I'm most creative. It's when I rejuvenate. But the sort of forced isolation that was COVID, and the was not the way we should be doing it. And everything about the year 2020, I basically think was a bad thing for society.
Yeah.
Every decision we made, we became unmoored from a lot of things. And so yeah, I think 2020 was a linchpin year in American history. I think it reset a lot of people into where they actually wanted to be politically.
Yes.
And I think it very much since has traveled in one specific direction, and not that there hasn't been some travelers in the other direction, but not nearly as many as what we're foretold. But so we're in New York City, where we're surrounded by blue, but the blue is increasingly kind of splitting into two camps itself.
Yeah.
As happens when you're in a big majority. But I also think that around most of the country, it's the other way, or the blues sort of surround. I think this is an anomaly. My hometown was majority Republican, and I was a Democrat in that hometown to the extent that I espoused political views.
Sure.
And I was treated a lot nicer, and it was a lot easier to get along with people there.
Right.
And we largely came from the same place and agreed to the same core values and principles. That's not the case here. And that's kind of colors my view about who needs to come out on top here. I think it's so much more palatable to have a Republican-led coalition govern the country and take us into the future. And it needs to keep improving, and things need to be done. But I think that's so much more viable when you have, you can dissent and you're still treated as a human in small town heartland America. Whereas here you really can't. And so it's not even just that you're not treated well here if you have to endure all of this stuff all the time, but also what are you going to do about everything back to where I came from? How are you going to compel your vision of the future onto them? So that's kind of I don't see any way forward like that, where you have a tiny couple of zip codes trying to, certainly the media ecosystem and the cultural and academic monopolies have certainly allowed those zip codes to go really, really far with that. But I think that's kind of at its max and is now only receding. So I think that kind of colors my view of what's more viable for the future and what's more workable.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm supposed to get to the transition here.
Listen, you wrote, speaking of, having a sense of community and the importance of community, community can also be an ephemeral thing. And, you wrote a great article for the website on Bedford, Virginia, a community in Bedford, Virginia, very small.
Yep.
That lost a lot of people during the Second World War. I don't know. Can you kind of tell us about what inspired you to write the article and the importance of Bedford?
Yeah, so Bedford, Virginia, I'll replay the story real quickly. The National D-Day Memorial is in Bedford, Virginia, and it's in Bedford, Virginia because the highest percentage of casualties of any town in America was in Bedford, Virginia, which I think has about 4,500 people today. Back then, it would have had maybe 3,000 people.
Tiny.
Yep, that's very tiny,
yeah.
very small town. And within the span of a couple of hours, maybe not even a couple hours, maybe within the span of 30 minutes, actually, on June 6, 1944, they lost 19 of their sons.
Yeah.
And then they lost 3 more. So 22 people died from Bedford, Virginia,
wow.
which certainly stretches to every friend and family and every combination in that town that's conceivable, and the surrounding rural county region. And so I was drawn to that story and finished that book on my my recent family vacation into Minnesota. And what struck me about it is that its juxtaposition with how we think of the Second World War, which is rightly so something we're enormously proud of as Americans. And I think boomers have done a really, really huge lift and job at kind of mythologizing it, and it's on a pedestal. And I'm not critiquing that even. I think that's a good thing. We should be proud of all of that. But what was fascinating about the story and tragic about it is war is still a war. And for this community, the good war, the so-called good war, and it is a good war in the sense that there are no good wars, but it was a fight that was necessary.
Right.
So a good war in that sense, a necessary war. But for this community, it really does just mean mass tragedy and pain. Yeah. And by this point, it's now been enough time where basically almost anyone connected to that is probably passed on. And so I thought it was time to, just as that book, I think that dedication of that memorial happened just before 9/11. We're coming up, and then that was how the book ends. Actually, is that then afterward nods to that is the importance of memorials and community.
Yes,
certainly for the living, certainly for those left behind, but then for everybody after it, it becomes important too. And I think occasionally you just have to tell the story.
Yeah,
somebody has to pick up the book, read the book, and then, okay, I'm going to tell this story in the format that I can on the Frank Forum. And it's a very quick article. Check it out on thefrankforum.com as any article that we mention.
That is, to me, everything you just said to me is the definition of conservatism, which is not to just let a period of time die. And then, we're seen as we just came up from the ground, or what did the prophetic Kamala Harris once say? Coconuts that came from a tree or something. We're connected to a long lineage.
Yeah, and it's, even if we want to forget it and not speak about it, we still will be behaving and acting it out all the time anyway.
Right.
So we might as well actually understand it and know where it comes from. And I get it. History is many different narratives, and it's impossible to know exactly how anything happened. But I actually think that story in particular is just about as close as you can get to the full picture, considering military history, which is its own specific genre. They have a pretty clear idea that these troops were from this town, and it was it was a National Guard unit. And I think it resonated with me because I was also in a National Guard unit, and we were all kind of from the same collection of towns and same neck of the woods. And my hometown specifically lost 3 people in the global war on terror.
And your town
was about 10,000.
10,000.
Which, that was quite a bit.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm like, well, I guess you're multiplying that by 12. And so that would be quite a bit for a small town to take on. I look forward one day to driving through Bedford, Virginia, and checking out this D-Day memorial.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for writing.
Absolutely.
What I think was a great piece.
Thank you. My pleasure. What else do you want to talk about in the Frank Forum?
Well, I recently wrote a book review. I think I've said Chris Murphy's name like for 3 episodes straight.
Right,
which is feeling a little bit weird.
Like you're trying to get a job with Senator Chris Murphy.
No, that is not the case.
No, I know. By the way, he would have no path. He would. I can't conceive of any path he has.
A lot of people look to him as a contender.
How though? Like I don't even see his name. Not that his name not popping up is.
Yeah. Well, he's definitely not from a battleground state or anything. Right. Connecticut. But he's a fairly young guy and he's very smart. And
yeah.
I think unfortunately while being a thoughtful guy, he's capitulated to the left flank of his party.
Right.
And has kind of just fallen in line. But I wrote a review of his book, which I actually do recommend people read, Crisis of the Common Good, because it's almost like an almost communitarian book.
Yeah.
Because basically I wrote a book review of it for Real Clear.
Yep.
And
it's a great book review.
My feeling is that the prescription that he has for this decline of community in America, this decline of belonging and social connection, his description is very good. He talks about things like trade liberalization that has hollowed out much of the Rust Belt, AI and smartphones and like that, which have kind of untethered us from each other. Materialism and consumerism. All of that was really good and I think was pretty spot on. But throughout the book, and I mentioned this, it's a 300-page book. I did a Kindle scan, right? I downloaded the book on Kindle, which was an additional expenditure, which I'm not super happy about, but because it doesn't deserve being purchased twice, the book.
Yeah.
But he mentions Trump's name 208 times. In a 300-page book. So it's like so obvious that what a shame, Trump derangement syndrome. It's like, if you know someone afflicted, please call 1-800. No, but he is totally looking through life through this Trump derangement syndrome lens. And what happens there is that you wind up writing a book about the loss of social connection in America, and then you mention Trump's name 208 times. And it's just like Trump is this racist demagogue and he's, taken advantage of lonely people and everything. It was just so unnecessary. And so that took away from his thesis.
Yeah.
And the other thing that took away from his thesis is that, listen, he's a progressive Democrat and his solutions to these problems that we face are top-down solutions.
More government.
More government. And his basic argument is that in many ways, government created this problem, right? By engaging in all these free trade agreements, by not regulating AI. And so therefore, it's incumbent on government to fix these problems. And what happens there is that he actually talks pretty fondly about civil society, but civil society isn't really part of his solution.
I think the whole reason that, and I wouldn't even call this the libertarian argument, I would just call it the pro-small government argument that has really existed ever since FDR vastly expanded the administrative state. The conservative view on this has always been, you're not shrinking big government for a higher GDP for the corporations,
right,
for whatever. You're doing it to encourage the growth and proliferation of civil society.
Yes.
Because there are certain things that government should just not do or have less of a role in.
On that note, as I was reading this book, and this is an example of a 300-page book that probably could have been 150 pages. There's a lot of redundancy in there. But there was a part of the book where he's talking about a conversation he had with Yuval Levin, who's a conservative intellectual, a great author, fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. And Yuval Levin goes, the job of the government is to protect the space between the individual and the state, not to fill that space.
Right.
And that to me is and I'm sorry to say this as someone who thinks bipartisanship is actually a good thing, that is an irreconcilable difference between the left and the right.
Yeah.
Whereas the left wants to fill that space with government, the right believes in the flourishing of civil society. And there's just no way to square that circle.
Yeah, and specifically the right believes in filling it not just with civil society, but also with something that has really been existing as human organization before the state existed, which is families.
Yes.
Families and kinship, and that is a pre-state, really the dawn of man. Like, just this is always sort of, families I think have been an instinctual outgrowth.
Yes.
That we can't even chart the true beginning of. And that right there, and this is why I think natural law is a good starting point for a lot of stuff, because it's not like some philosopher wrote a book and we're like, all right, we're going to implement this. No, that's what Karl Marx did, and that's why none of this worked well.
Yes.
Natural law is actually what these rules and how we've ordered our society have actually come from generation after generation and generation of human experience with the natural world. And we ordered it in a way to protect human flourishing.
Right.
We didn't just do things randomly because we're cruel towards X, Y, and Z or what have you. There was a purpose behind something. And if we're going to remove something, we should have a good reason for doing it. And if we're going to change it on any level, actually, we should do it at a very gradual pace with a reason behind it, which I think has basically always been the core of conservatism.
Well, Troy, I think we had an eventful show.
Yep.
You know, I think we checked all the boxes. We discussed Bumble. Mario came on in a strange hat. I think we basically touched everything we need to for this episode. So for the next episode and to see Mario in different hats, please tune into the Frank Forum podcast. We'll see you next time.